Vikings unfurled. Then Eric, the outcast with fire in his eye, fled Iceland's cold judgment for a new northern sky. 25 long ships set sail for the west, but the hammer of Neptune put them to the test. 11 were swallowed by the salt and the foam. 14 survived to find a new home. Oh, the ice is a kingdom, the tundra is gold, a saga of iron, a story of old. From the eastern heart to the western shore, the Norsemen are rising to conquer once more. Through the mist and the thunder, the prophecy seen. All hail the Viceroy of Greenland. Farms in a warm epoch's light, 10,000 Norsemen prepared for the fight. From middle to western the settlements grew, under a sky of a cold, brilliant blue. But the Thule arrived like a wave from the west, ancestors of Inuit put to the quest. In a single great surge from the north to the south, they took the cold land from the dragon's own mouth. The Norsemen vanished, the Thule remained. Then the Danes took the coast and the Inuit chained. But when Nazis loomed and the Danes gave away, the eagles of liberty entered the fray. Stars and the stripes over glacier and peak, the giants are waking, the masters are weak. The 47th rose with a plan in his hand. He looked to the north at the great frozen land. I'll buy it with silver, the president cried. But the Danes in their towers, they laughed in their pride. He returned in his glory with a vow and a blade. By gold or by iron, the deal shall be made. Who shall I send to the fjord and the snow? Who is the hero to make the land grow? Oh, the ice is a kingdom, the tundra is gold, a saga of iron, a story of old. From the eastern heart to the western shore, the Norsemen are rising to conquer once more. Through the mist and the thunder, the prophecy seen. All hail the Viceroy of Greenland.
And the will of the storm, the American empire begins to take form. Chris is running the show. Chris is running the
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the program. It's Friday evening, January 16th, 2026. Friends and family only Friday. One can ask the governor of Minnesota, Stolen Valor, Timmy Tampon Walz, and Small Fry Jacob, the mayor of Minneapolis, as subpoenas have been issued for their appearance, and they are under investigation for obstruction, sedition, and insurrection. It's evening to remember. All right, the sound is good. Rightio, welcome back to the program, folks. Busy. It never ends. The joy never ends. There's always something new. Earlier today, it was Friends and Family Only Friday for South Africa's ANC government, which discovered that the violation of U.S. law and the illegal transfer of military technology from South Africa to the communist state and the People's Liberation Army will not be tolerated as U.S. military interdicts and captures simulators destined for China, shipped there illegally by a South African company, once again ignored by the government of South Africa, just like they ignored the shipment of military helicopters to a UN-sanctioned warlord in Benghazi, as well as sending mercenaries to fight in Ukraine in illegal war. These are the actions of a government that claims to live in a rules-based order. The international system, a rules-based order, but the rules don't work for them because they simply ignore them. Where is the outrage? Where is the South African government and the African National Congress, Ronald Lamola and Cyril Ramaphosa, in their indignation over the slaughter of innocents, thousands and thousands of Iranians slaughtered, repression of free speech, freedom of assembly, things that supposedly matter to this government in South Africa? This happened to their dear friends in Tehran, and nothing was done. Not a single protest, not a single demand for an emergency United Nations Security Council meeting, as the rules-based order failed yet again because actors ignore the rules, like the African National Congress in South Africa. Not a single demand for any action from Iran until 4 days after the protests have been squashed and tens of thousands potentially murdered, maimed, or harmed, thousands of others unjustly imprisoned by a corrupt, theocratic, totalitarian, fascist state, the friends of the ANC. And that's my evening monologue. Welcome back to the program, folks. Caught red-handed. The African National Congress has failed to rein in an entity that created. Their sound. That's why it was on mute, so you don't have to hear that. Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, lots to talk about as always. It's never a dull moment. For the hate wanker who is looking for attention by making videos about me and slandering me and committing criminal injuria and character assassination, dude, I open my program talking about America once again. Yep. What a twit. I don't know if there's any mods here. Charles Edward Cook, Angelique, Lucinda Summers, Jules, Vilma Hearn, Karen Long, Xavier Grayling, Alex, Cecilia Kruger, Loretta, Art Queen, what's going on? Momo, Martin van der Bava, Petrus van der Linde, Cleode Polo. Who else we got here? I'm Real. Okay. Marty Lancelas. Okay. Mara Fori. Jules. Vesperlin. Phillips watching the protest is like watching Alien versus Predator. Sven Stalbard. Hester Kotze, Luva Eve. Don Jansa van Rensburg. Amiri Boer. Oh, Maribor. Got it. Nikki Hayton. Marty, I already said that. Hey there, Shawnee. What's going on? Yeah, their gunning investigation subpoenas have been issued, which means they're going to have to appear in court or for information. Multipass is back. Leilu Dallas, Multipass. CBB's here. Dan is in from the great state of Wyoming. What's going on, Dan? By the way, no refugees have gone to Wyoming, just in case anybody's curious. Told you it's not for you. Mara Fari, and there you go. Loretta, I think we got, okay. Trippy, and Modified Intel. Welcome back to all you guys. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, we have almost 100 people here now, and perhaps people will tune in a little bit later on. Charlene Borga and Sirius Savoy, welcome to you. So, I'm going to let you guys in a little secret. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's a little secret. You already know about the meet and greet in Dallas. I am intending to travel to Rochester, New York, because the mistreatment of refugees up there, too many reports, too many things that aren't making sense. It's a long drive, 300 plus miles, over 500 kilometers. It's wintertime. It's going to snow tomorrow. My plan is to go Monday as a federal holiday. I intend to go there on Monday. I will meet with as many South African refugees in the Rochester area as possible who are able to come and join me at my hotel. We'll have a conversation. If possible, I'll do a live stream. I may do a live stream where I'm the only one on camera. They're off camera with a microphone. I might do that. So yeah, that's coming up. A long trip. I've had enough of this horse manure. I'm also going to start revealing information about Church World Services. It will knock your socks off. They've been given plenty of opportunity for 6 months now, and they've simply ignored media requests, and their services are underwhelming. And so I've had enough of their crap. And on behalf of South Africans and potentially others, Afghans and Congolese who have been treated like crap potentially. So the question remains, what is the problem with the Rochester Church World Service? Is it they're understaffed? Is it they're incompetent? Is it they're just rude and uncaring? Are they racist against the South Africans? Or have they delivered these abysmal services to all refugees? My intent is to visit Church World Service, broadcast live from outside their building if they're locked, interview them if they're willing to be interviewed, or at least talk to them and find out what their problem is. Beyond that, my intent is also to visit the city hall, whatever office coordinates for refugees that come into the city. And I intend also to visit a couple other refugee organizations that provide assistance to refugees in the area. And that's my intent. If in fact things go well and I'm able to interview others, then I will stay again Tuesday night and then come back Wednesday after I have a chance to meet with other folks. That's the plan. Well, it may be a sanctuary city, but it's about to be exposed to the world if that's the case. If that's the case. What car will I drive? Why are you asking that question, Modified Intel? Why are you asking what car I'll drive? I'm not taking my SUV. I don't take my SUV on trips like that anymore, not that long. The car's 25 years old. I cherish it. Yeah. Plus, it doesn't have Sirius XM radio, and I will fall asleep at the wheel, bored driving up there. Well, Loretta, I'm trying. That's my intent. If, in fact, I'm able to make this trip to Rochester and it goes the way I expect it to go, that will mean I'm the only journalist on the planet who's traveled to Idaho, Birmingham, Texas, and New York to interview refugees. Yep. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't. My car doesn't look like an ICE car. I don't have that kind of money. Don't have that. There are no such thing as ICE cars. They're GSA vehicles. Government General Service Administration are issued by GSA. JP Durheim says, thanks, with lots of exclamation points. Are you in Rochester? Yeah, anyway, that's the plan, folks. That plan came together earlier today when I've discussed it. I have written to Church World Services twice last year. They ignored my media request. They have a media email address. They simply didn't respond. I checked my email. I checked my spam. They never responded. I also recently sent them an email a few days back to the Rochester office. They haven't responded. And that came before the video of these people not at the door. So I'm going to show you a video now, which will be in a video that I'm preparing, which will be the first in a series of videos, most likely, unless they fix this problem. I've given them a chance to fix it. They have no interest in fixing these problems. So we're going to make them famous. So this is a refugee in Rochester. This is Church World Service. They need their documentation in order to get employment. They have been told by this refugee assistance officer, whose name I will not disclose. I don't dox people unless it's necessary. And this is a local worker, so there's no need for that at this moment. But this worker told them that they've gotten all the assistance they're going to get. You get 1 month's rent assistance, you're done. Also, I need to check on something, see if I got a response from this refugee. Let me see if he responded. Oh, he sent me a voice note. Of course he sent a voice note. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, so I need to get clarification on this because this refugee sent me the letter that came on January 16th today. And it says, Dear Mr. Blank, this letter is to inform you that you and the participating members of your family have completed the reception and placement program at Church World Services Rochester as of 16 January. Now, they arrived on 3 December for the following reason. Completion of cash-based RMP program service period. This claims that they received direct assistance per capita of $2,500. Direct assistance would not be in-kind assistance. That wouldn't be them paying for your rent. That wouldn't be them giving you transportation. Direct assistance would mean they gave you $2,500 of cash per person. So that means this family of 2 members would have gotten $5,000 of cash, plus something called flex funding for $800. That means they got $5,800. The refugee assures me he's seen no such amount of money. So this is another thing I'll be investigating. I have the actual letter here, 3 pages from that refugee assistance officer, which I will include in my video. But this is the refugee and his wife having gone to Church World Services in Rochester, New York, to find out. We're going to get to the Minnesota thing. Don't worry about it, folks. Hang in there, Shawnee. We'll get to Minnesota. This will be them going after contacting the lady, and I'm going to play an audio file for you, which is really going to knock your socks off too. This is shockingly horrible. So let me just actually let me play the audio file first, because that's going to make more sense. This is a voice note from the refugee about I don't think he mentions the person's name, but he does fine. That's what she gets for, but here it is. Why is it me? Here we go.
So I received a confirmation from USCIS that my AED card, my workers permit card, not papers.
So this is the actual card, the employment authorization document, which he needs to go get employment legally. That document, he's going to tell you USCIS, the federal government, sent it, delivered it to this location in Rochester. They signed for it. And then he calls her, and watch what happens. This is the mischievous shit going on.
Card has been shipped to me, and it has been successfully delivered and signature with. This morning I call my caseworker. I ask my caseworker, is there any mail for me? No, there's nothing. She drops the phone in my ear. I call her back. I say, listen, yeah, you are lying to me. I have confirmation with me that you have received documents from USCIS on my behalf. Why it has been sent to your offices, I don't know, but yet you received and you signed for it. Yes, we did. I said to her, but I told you.
Do you catch that? After she was caught in a lie, then she admitted that she had signed for it. After she told him she didn't have it and hung up on him, he called her back.
I asked you, have you received documents? And you said no. So why are you lying to me? Can you please ensure that I get my documents by the end of this day? Yes, she will call me right back. It is now 15:51. We tried calling her several times. She ignores our phone calls. We send her messages. She ignores our messages. We came to the office now, tried to get access in to come and collect our documents. They refuse us entry at the door. So this is what you get when you come to Rochester. You get so-called, and I'm mentioning it so-called so that you guys can know, so-called agents, which is not even worth the toilet paper you are wiping out of your ass, because these people don't help you with anything.
All right, now I'll show you the video he recorded when he went to the place. But you can't move away from anything like rain when you don't have a work authorization document.
So here we are. We are standing in front of our resettlement agency, CWS Rochester's office. We are here to come pick up our I-75 or 765 documents, which they received from the USCIS on our behalf, and they are simply refusing to give us the information. The doors are locked. We have contacted them. We told them, listen here, we are here. They don't respond to us at all. But this is the type of treatment that you get when you are a South African coming to Rochester and expecting your so-called agents to assist you. These guys don't assist you with anything. So this is where we are. I'm waiting. I called them. I texted them. They don't answer their phones. They don't reply to our messages. Yet they are in possession of our documents. Get us our documents and we can start working. But I mean, without documents, we can't work. And here we are, waiting, like animals in front of a locked door for them. But this is supposed to be a resettlement agent that assists refugees when they're coming in.
So that is why I'm traveling to Rochester, New York, to get to the bottom of this. This is unacceptable. This company receives compensation from the U.S. government. And you're going to be shocked when you find out how much compensation it is, ladies and gentlemen. You're absolutely going to be shocked. Let me tell you a little bit. I'm showing you a lot of what my video is going to be, but that's fine because this is Night Owls. So this is what this company receives in financing. Watch this. In fiscal year 22-23, that's about 3 or 4 years ago, the most current data I can find of this through through NGO watches, they received $220 million in funding. $186 million of that came from the taxpayers. We paid this organization, Church World Service, $186 million as taxpayers from the Department of Homeland Security, the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration, PRM, Health and Human Services, and the Office of Refugee Resettlement. $186 million for this shitty service. Now, there are a lot of reasons for that. I'll go into it in the video that I'm going to produce, but this is important for you folks to understand what these people are up to. This is evil. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Church World Service, okay? Okay, why is this not working? Hang on a second here. Okay, something's wrong here. Okay, there we go. Church World Service. Okay, so this is a little bit about Church World Service that most people don't know. If you donate to Church World Service, they are politically active. They use political advocacy. Rather than simply taking care of refugees, they involve themselves in politics, particularly in anti-Semitic, anti-Jew, hating Jew, and hating Israel. They're a founding member of the ACT, the ACT Alliance, that promotes demonizing rhetoric against Israel, international boycotts, divestments, and sanctions, or the BDS movement, as well as Cairo's Palestine document, which calls for BDS against Israel, denies Jewish historical connection to Israel in theological terms, and rationalizes, justifies, and trivializes terrorism, calling it legal resistance. This is who Church World Services is. Church World Service. It's an organization that is ostensibly created to help people survive. What's going on here? Okay, something's not right. There we go. Got it back. Okay, I got it back. Yeah, that's who they are. Now, let me tell you something a little bit more, okay, about these people. Okay, so their CEO, and I'm going to show you jobs they offer to people and what they pay. Where's this one at? I'm going to find it here. Okay, it's not showing up now. I saved this, I thought. Okay, well, I'll show you the top three. I had the one for the top guy. So these are the top three people at the corporation, because that's what is a corporation that's not providing service to its refugees. So at least in Rochester. And I've heard other complaints about Church World Services elsewhere. And I'm not talking about getting out of Africa. I'm talking about arrival on this side. So Rick Santos is the president and chief executive officer. Errol Kekik is the senior vice president of programs. And Joanne Rendell is the chief financial officer. This is what they make. Rick Santos makes, with incentives, he makes nearly $400,000 a year. Nearly 7.4 million rand a year. 7.4 million rand a year to treat people like shit. Errol Kekik receives $245,000 per year, and the chief financial officer gets $219,000 per year. Is this a faith-based organization or a money laundering operation? That's a facetious comment. I'm not accusing of money laundering. They apparently are very circumspect with their funds. But what is the purpose of Church World Service other than demonize President Trump? This, of course, is the organization that attacked President Trump and the refugee program and his limits on the refugee program. These are people that intentionally bring aliens into our country and profit immensely from it and dump them in our neighborhoods and treat them like shit. Church World Service on October 31st condemned the Trump administration's presidential determination of refugee admissions, saying the refugee plan runs counter to the law. No, it doesn't. It runs counter to our values as a nation. No, it doesn't. It has long been offered refuge to those in need of protection. Foolishly, we've done that. Look what's happened to us with the Somalis. It runs counter to our national self-interest, as we know that when refugees come to this country, they enrich our communities culturally, spiritually, and economically. How can they enrich our country economically when your shitbirds won't give them their documents so that they can go get a job? And that's how you treat them. And then you lie in your documents claiming you gave them $5,800, which they never received. $5,800. So you tell me what's going on here. Do we have criminal activity going on in Rochester? I will be in Rochester soon to find out. There's no way to go to USCIS. I've tried Bloodcook. There's no way to go. That's why I'm trying to get there through government connections, because you can't contact USCIS. That's why this is going to become a news story. That's why I'm talking about it tonight, to give you a foretaste of what's coming. I tried contacting them for the last 3 months. When you call, you go to an automated system. And then you get dumped here, got dumped there. You can't talk to someone. There's no whistleblower. There's no inspector general. There's no hotline for me to contact fraud. They claim there is, but there isn't. They don't respond. No, Hermanus, Johannes, or Lang. Stop with that. They don't do any investigations on you. Stop. They don't do that. These people don't do investigations. Why do people think they do investigations? They do not do investigations. They land the contract because most of these organizations resettling people are leftists because most Americans who are centrist or right of center don't want these people dumped in our neighborhood, whether they're South African or Haitian or Congolese or Somali. Oh, this is the Nick Shirley moment. Yes, I realize that future looks bright. It's the Nick Shirley moment. And Church World Service is going to rue the day that they didn't respond to my messages. I gave them an opportunity. I gave them an opportunity for months to be responsive while we heard bad things. I've defended their actions and explained people need to have patience on what's happening in South Africa with RSC. I've done that for months because I've gave plausible reasons why things are screwed up. But this is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Oh, it may not be fraud. Future looks bright. I'm not claiming it is. What's the problem? I already outlined that unless you just came in a few moments ago. I said, what's going on here? Is this the level of service that they give all refugees? That may very well be the case. As a consequence, I'll be visiting other refugee organizations in the Rochester area on Tuesday because Monday is Martin Luther King Day, so they won't be open, I don't imagine. So let me see. I think it's not here. It's in another one. So they have a manual. I have the manual from Rochester. Yeah. See, you shouldn't mess with refugees that speak English, and you shouldn't mess with refugees that know journalists. So I have the guide. So I can show you right here what they say you're supposed to get. Yep. Rochester CWS. I'll hide the number so you don't see that. But yeah, I have their guide. Cash-based and RMP resource guide, Church World Services, Rochester. Yep. And they list, they're supposed to provide community services, Social Security card application, employment authorization document, which is the issue here. They won't provide it. They're holding it so that these people starve. Medical care, employment, education, school enrollment, government communications, transportation, motor safety laws, housing, and cultural orientation. Sounds like a good program. Temporary cash assistance, SNAP, which is no longer available for them, SSI. Okay. And it tells you where the WIC locations are in the county, and then how to get Social Security supplemental if you're over 65, child care programs, public assistance. What else we got here? Then emergency services, police, know your rights. Isn't that nice? Know your rights. They got that. Yep. And then libraries, and then parks and recreation, but they don't really go into it. And then here are at least 3 services. So I'm going to check into at least two of these. Yep, I'm going to go to 2 of these organizations. You have Refugees Helping Refugees in Rochester. I'll be going there. Legal Assistance of Western New York. I'll be going there as well. Offers free legal support. Yep. So I will be talking to them. I'm sure they can get very nasty, Marissa. I'm sure they can. Look how they treated Nick Shirley. Yep. So I've given I-797 here, and it talks about it right here. The process is fully automated. Doesn't require refugees to even apply for an EAD. But they've put these people in place, and they're offering no assistance beyond 1 month. Oh, I think it could very well be Joe, Texas, and it's something I've talked about for a long time in the past. I'm not enamored with these organizations that are bringing people into our country and making $2.9 billion off of our taxpayer every year to resettle refugees. Now, that's not xenophobic. To me, there appears to be no oversight from USCIS and Homeland Security into this program. I could be wrong, but I've already had to contact an agency in Texas, an agency in Modesto, California, an agency in Ann Arbor, Michigan, an agency in Massachusetts, and now an agency in New York about these problems. The agency in California resolved the problems. They were very, very, very forthcoming, very helpful. The agency in Texas was also very forthcoming. It turns out that their lesbian agent hated white people, and that was dealt with. We solved the problem. And they were treated very fairly after that. But what's happening in Rochester? And what's happening in Ann Arbor? I don't know the latest status on that, but the people in Ann Arbor are trying to pull some fast ones. I believe some of these refugee agencies are pocketing the money, falsely claiming they're giving the money to refugees, putting the money in their pockets. Maybe just locally it's happening. And the refugees often don't speak English and don't know any better and sign whatever's put in front of them. Is what one big con, Hondo? You have to understand, Sean Farumont, most of the people who come to this country don't speak English. There are people of color who've come from war-torn areas and failed states. They don't know these things. They don't understand what's going on. They think any help they get is wonderful. And I don't know that what I said is true, and I'm not making the allegation that it is, but I do know that the refugee in question told me he did not receive $5,800 in cash. This is not in kind. In kind. If they want to claim that they provided by paying his rent, by delivering him to places, by driving around, by giving him food baskets, they could claim that. That would be in kind. This says direct assistance per capita. Direct assistance means cash. They gave that directly to him. No, I don't suggest anybody record anything. Every state has its own wiretap laws. You can get a lot of trouble for that guy. I don't encourage anyone to record conversations. It's not legal. It's not legal in many jurisdictions. For instance, here in Pennsylvania, we have 45 cameras in our veterans organization in that building. We record everything. Almost every angle in the place is caught, so we don't have people stealing from us, and in case people get in fights, and we control things. But we cannot use the audio option. It has to be disabled in every camera because you cannot record people's audio without their consent. You can record video. You can record video provided there's signage saying that you know that you're being recorded. And we have signs saying that. Always wear video body cameras. Well, that's what GoPros are good for. Yep. Yes, their inaction is going to have consequences, Ingrid. It's going to have consequences because it's drawing attention to what's going on in Rochester. If nothing untoward's going on, then why are these people being treated so busily? Why has this woman never answered their emails, never answered the calls? They haven't been pestering her on the weekends. This is during a work week. She's unresponsive. The agency's unresponsive. It's locked up. I strongly believe that they're all bum hurt because they lost their jobs. In fact, I looked up Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Last year, they were all furloughed when Trump suspended the program. This is when Church World Service began attacking the Trump administration with its racial allegations and its insults to the United States. And I asked them a question about that, and they refused to answer it. They didn't even respond to my message because they have a media address, but they don't respond to the media. So they're going to have their Nick Shirley Minneapolis moment, whether they want it or not. No, Hondo, I know for a fact that some of these agencies are fantastic people. North Carolina, fantastic for Thea when she got there. They were wonderful. Wow, Future Looks Bright just gave £10 and said, donation to assist your refugee investigation, shine the light. Well, thank you for that. Clouds are gathering. Let me go look at PayPal and see what's going on there. And maybe I'll get even more excited. PayPal. Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm going to be excited anyway. You gave me something. It's very kind of you. Appreciate it. Dual factor authentication again. What happens in South Africa when your phone gets robbed? You can't do dual factor authentication. You can't get in your accounts to stop the thieves from cleaning you out. What a stupid concept. All right, let's see. I did this to make sure it got there, not just to be nosy to see how much you sent. Oh dear gosh. Yeah, that will help immensely. Yeah, my petrol I'm figuring is going to take a full tank to get there, which is $50, and a full tank to get back, so that's $100. That's without driving around. So I'm going to say about $250 worth of petrol. Then one night in a hotel is probably, I haven't looked, it's probably going to be about $125. 2 nights, $250. So the trip will be at least $500 to $700 just to go up there and do this. Plus, I got to drive for 10 hours, 5 hours up, 5 hours back. But thank you so much for that super chat. Appreciate it. Right, Marissa, now they're dealing with people who can speak English, can ask questions back and open their mouth, so they can't get away with it. Yep, so that's what we're doing here, folks. Look, I've had enough of this. This isn't right. I'm not asking any of you people to come over here. I'm also not telling you not to come over here. If you're eligible and you feel you've been persecuted, you fear future persecution, then do what you need to do. And that is to do an intake questionnaire and go through the process. If we make a promise to you that we're going to bring you over here and we provide a certain level of assistance under the law, then it needs to be delivered. And if these agencies are robbing people blind, then I'm going to check into it. If they're just incompetent or if they're bigoted and racist, then I'm going to get into that too. So services from the Office of Refugee Resettlement, that's the government agency, will continue to be available to you for up to 5 years from the date of your arrival in the United States. 5 years. 5 years. It also talks in here about when you have to apply for a green card. And once again, for the little nasty troll who lied about me, it's right here in paperwork. Oh, and here's a little surprise too. Even though you're not a citizen, you're a resident here, you have to apply, you have to register for the Selective Service if you're a male to be drafted. We don't have a draft, but you have to do it. So if you're a male, you must register with Selective Service. I think somebody mentioned that in one of the interviews before, but it says it right here. Please remember, you'll need to adjust your status with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services 1 year after your date of arrival to obtain your permanent residency in the United States. There you go. 1 year. Yeah, and thank you for that generosity. Yep. Yep. So there you go, folks. Correct, Hondo. There's a few bad actors, but I can tell you that the people in North Carolina are fantastic. The people in Twin Falls, I met them. I was in the refugee agency. I was taken in by Cara. She took me in, showed me around, introduced me to the people who worked there. It was a Friday. Nobody was around. They were wonderful people. They were very helpful. They answered my questions. I thanked them for the assistance they gave to the Hotzenberg family. And they were among the first in Twin Falls. Because I said, people aren't getting the same level of respect and care elsewhere. And they were wonderful. Now, that office has brought Afghans and Congolese and Burundians and Central Africans and Burmese into the country previously. But they welcomed the South Africans who were white with open arms too. So, really far, far away. Where are you, on the moon, man? So there you go. So that's what's coming, guys. That's what's coming. I have to make a video with all that stuff. I don't know if I'm going to stay up late tonight and make the video, or I'm going to make it Sunday, because tomorrow I've got rugby most of the day. So yeah, and I've got other things I got to take care of. Yeah, so that's what's going on here, folks. I mean, I've had enough of this. It's a long drive, and it's a sucky. I mean, it's not a sucky drive. It's just one I don't like making. I've made it previously. I just don't like making that drive. But I'll make the drive, and we'll see how it goes. Need to make sure I have my motor, my AAA card with me, and and a blanket in the car in case of breakdown, and a torch and all that stuff. I don't know anybody that's in Oklahoma, Phoenix, so I can't speak to that. I have no idea. There are people in Kentucky. I've heard different things depending where they're at. Yep. Oh, Joe, Texas, you sent something too. Let me go check that out. Thank you, Joe, Texas. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Appreciate it. Yep. Thank you guys very much. Every little bit helps, and I'll use that towards these trips. So the trip to Texas to visit the refugees, the big meet and greet is happening. So my plan is as following, okay, just so you know, and if there's any refugees from Rochester in here tonight, let me see. Hang on a second. Anyway, so I just let the refugee know that. So, I'll drive safely. I've driven that route many, many times. It's up right through the heart of Pennsylvania. You go to Williamsport, which is the home of the League World Series. You go north up to New York State, and you continue up. Rochester's almost directly north of me. It's 500 kilometers away. No, Jules, my pleasure. So here's the itinerary I planned for the Rochester trip. I plan to do my broadcast a little bit early on Monday. It's a holiday anyway. And then leave here so that I get up there before dark. I don't like driving in the dark, especially in places in the wilds of Pennsylvania and New York where deer jump out in front of you. So I will drive up there, and I will I'll take a cooler with me, so I have some food in the car. And then I will get to my hotel room, which I haven't booked yet. I'll probably do that later tonight. And then I will I'll let the refugees that are in Rochester know ahead of time, so if they can come, they can join me, and we can have a meet and greet there at the hotel. Just use their meeting room or something like that. And then If any are willing to come on air, I'll do a live stream from there. It'll be late at night for South Africans, but if they want to tune in, they can always watch after the fact. If they don't want to be on air, then I'll give them a microphone and we will have them, not on camera, just be me on camera. And that'll be Monday night. Tuesday, I intend to go to this refugee organization and ask them what's going on. If they don't answer the door, then I will broadcast outside of their offices on a public street. And I'll do a live stream from there. And then I will go to the city, and then I will go to this other refugee agency and then the legal firm to see if they can help. And if anyone is willing to talk to me, they're refugees from other countries, and I find out that they've also received such abysmal treatment, then I will address that further. Well, it's a one-party state. Just you do not need their permission. Please check local law. Sounds like you can record completely undercover. Okay, well, I'll check, Light Rain. Okay, I'll check. Yeah. Hey, Chris, I didn't know you were here. Okay, I just sent you a text message. Okay. Owensboro and Bowling Green apparently are going very well. Well, I don't know because these refugees haven't offered me interviews. I asked for interviews. You guys, look, the interviews don't do things for me. They do things for you. They also help refute the lies in the media. So, in the interest of full disclosure, I'll let you know that the Stolze family, who have a German passport holder and have, with the safe haven, and have 2 black children and have an autistic child and have adopted children, all the things that people said you can never do and come to America as a refugee, all lies. They have all of that in their family. I was interviewed earlier in the week by the largest newspaper in the world, which has a circulation of 6 million daily readers, 2 editions, a morning and evening edition, in Japan. And they interviewed me about the refugee program. They also interviewed me about Nigeria and what's happening in Nigeria for a separate story. And then I offered to put them in touch with Martin van Staden so they could, I offer the receipts. Talk to the guy who can tell you about the analysis, the 145 race-based laws. Also direct them to the embassy website. Then they did all that, and they came back very glowing and thanking me. And then I'd offered to put them in touch with the refugee family if they wanted, and they said you did. So I reached out to the Stolze family, which is the perfect family to refute all of these narratives. And the Stolze family now today were interviewed. Now they had a condition. They said I had to be in the Zoom session. So the journalist invited me into the Zoom session. I interrupted 3 times, I think, to give some background about things. But yeah, so they've been interviewed by the largest newspaper in the world, the Stolze family. There you go. Martini Henry would like an interview. Okay, that's brilliant, Martini Henry. Can you send me an email or a WhatsApp if you have me on WhatsApp and let me know? I have somebody that's supposed to come on Sunday, but I haven't heard back from that person. If you're in the chat, please remind me. Send me a note and tell me, because I'm trying to. I get so many of these things. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. Oh yeah, man, I could show up, use my German accent. Tag, yeah. My name is Johann Schmidt. Yes, I'm from Bad Kreuznach, Germany, and I've come over here to find out about the refugees here. I don't know about CWS following my stream. Future looks bright, but I do know that the State Department follows my stream. The National Security Council follows my stream. The White House follows my stream. The EFF follows my stream. The ANC follows my stream. I don't think the DA follows me anymore. I don't think the DA follows me anymore. What do you guys think? You think the DA still watches my program? I don't think they do. Oh my goodness. It's Nick Shirley time, man. Well, Philip, that's the point. Their offices are locked. They don't answer the door. I don't expect to get in their offices. I'm not going there to undermine them. I'm going to ask them legitimate stuff. Nikki Hayton just gave 700 Rand Super Chat. Wow, thanks for that, Nikki. Appreciate that. No, they did at one time, Charles. I know they did. Because senior members of the DA ask other members of the DA whom I'd interviewed for my contact information and then watch my videos. And then, well, I'm not going to get into it yet. Not unless I don't want to upset the political trajectory of South Africa single-handedly, but I have the ability to do that. If you don't believe me, you can ask Ronaldo. Does Chris have something that he could use? Yes, Chris does. But I'm not using it. Because I don't think it's appropriate. Yeah, not refugee. This is related to me and South African politicians. Yep. Right. Yeah, you guys know who I am, but people in upstate New York don't know who I am. Oh, Charles. Yeah, you can believe me. Oh, I got something that could destroy careers. Destroy careers. Start a resettlement agency? Oh my gosh, it takes people. And it takes money, it takes time. I mean, I know somebody tried it here in Philadelphia, and he's had such a mess getting it done. It's so hard to get off the ground. Yep. It would be so time consuming. And then of course, then people would accuse me of doing it for the money. But of course I would do it for the money. It takes money to run the operation. You see that Church World Service gets $220 million a year. They spend $218 million. So it would take money. I'd have to hire people. It takes money. So, you know, it's... Oh, you're right, Monray. They are still watching because they're now part of the ANC. That's too funny, man. You're killing me with that stuff. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's good. Oh my goodness. Anyway, thank you both for the donations that went into PayPal. That's very helpful. That's money I can use now. Like that, I can use that now and transfer it and use it. Unlike the money that goes into YouTube, which I'm very grateful for. But YouTube, the money that was just paid by, Nikki just gave 700 Rand. That's fantastic. YouTube will take their cut, and that money will be delivered to me on February 23rd or abouts. It's 5 weeks from now. It's fine. I don't live off that money. They're not spending that money on us, that's for sure. No, Chris, they're not. And we're going to talk about that. Chris, I mean, I don't know. Can you answer? Well, I don't know if Chris can answer this. Well, if is there somebody in Rochester can answer this question? Is there somebody in Rochester that doesn't mind outing themselves in the chat? I need to get an idea how many of these refugees are in Rochester. I don't know. I've heard there are refugees there. 5 or 6 is all I know, but maybe there's more. Anybody in Rochester? You don't have to answer the question. If somebody in chat wants to say that, that means you know because you're in Rochester. If you don't mind sharing that, please, somebody in the chat, share it. I don't want to out anybody here that might be in Rochester. Yeah, Light Rain. I don't know that I don't know if I want to do that. We are more. Okay. Chris John says we are more. It sounds like some V for Vengeance movies saying there. Martini Henry, I wouldn't want to live in Connecticut. It's a busy place. There's too many people. There are lovely places in Connecticut. Bridgeport is not one of them. It's not. Anyway, yeah, no, I mean, Connecticut's not for me. I went up there to Bridgeport to watch the Hershey Bears play a game against Bridgeport Sound Tigers, and it was a nightmare getting there. I drove, made really good time, got up to New York, crossed over into New York, and just north end of the city, above the city. Man, it took forever to get to where I was going. Couldn't find a decent place to stay in Bridgeport, so I booked a Hampton property down the road from there. Went to the game. It was in overtime, so I had to stay late, and then left. Rochester's a furniture store. Well, Rochester was a character on Benny, what's his name there? Jack Benny show. The Jack Benny said, Rochester. Yeah, Mr. Benny. Mr. Benny, what's going on? No, I was outside last night and I was working on stuff. It hurts to say it that way, but that was Rochester. Jack Benny. I love Jack Benny, man. What a funny guy. But Jack Benny had Rochester. If you don't know Rochester's voice, that guy was great. Let me look him up here. Rochester. Eddie Anderson was the actor. Played Rochester. He was funny. Let's see. There he is. Here's Rochester. 1937 began his role as Rochester. Yeah. He died in 1977. Lived to be 71. Wonder if there's any audio files of him here. Famous with Jack Benny. Let me see. Oh, here we go.
I'm going to the diner. I'm hungry.
What about me?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Bentley, but I've got to make it up. Oh, Mr. Bentley, come now. 12 years old?
He has a thyroid condition.
See, Daddy, I told you it wouldn't work.
Are you getting...
That's Rochester. I love Rochester. What a great character. Heck of an actor, too. Best wishes. Hey, what's going on, Dogzilla? 5 families around. Oh, there's a couple of them here. Okay, 5. Hopefully you guys can meet with me, okay? I'm driving a long way. My intent is to meet with everybody. You don't have to be on camera. We can just meet. We'll do a meet and greet. And I'm happy to meet you guys and see what we can do to try to resolve some of this stuff. Also here, if you're also having the same problems I heard from others. Okay? Yep. Again, I mean, let me be very clear about this. I don't look forward to a 5-hour drive, particularly now. The good news is my hip has been repaired to some degree, so I won't be in agony the whole way. Otherwise, I would have been in agony the whole trip, and I would have really had to evaluate whether I was going to do it. So I should be able to. I'll probably have to stop a few times, get up and walk in the freezing weather. So I don't look forward to it. Also, I'm not a fan of Rochester. So a long way to go for something, and none of this will be for my personal stuff. At least the trip to Texas, I get to go to a hockey game on Monday night because I had free time, and I paid for that. Apocalypse Ninja, thank you. Template of the design over WhatsApp. You can show your audience if you want to. Okay, let me see. Okay. There it is. Okay. Let me see. Martini Henry, you are late. We've already covered it in great detail. I'll cover it again here shortly. All right, so this is what the shirt's going to be, the Bugger Off Bunny at Colonel Chris Wyatt. Really small at the bottom there. Okay, and then I guess the back is Stupid People Should Wear Signs. I don't know if people are going to like that, though. So that's that. I don't know if people are going to like, something like that. But I don't know. Maybe they will. Needs to be an intermediary for all refugees from outside the state who is bilingual in their language. If they don't speak English, maybe better control then. Hey, Anime Britain. Yeah, that's incredibly expensive and unfeasible. Are we supposed to have people that speak 75 different languages? It doesn't work very well. Malema said Starlink is a white insurrection. yeah. Malema is such an idiot. Okay. Charles Edward Koch likes it. Did you all hear about the most interesting man in the world? No, they haven't seen me recently. No. The most interesting man in the world? Yeah. I think some people have heard about that. Not recently. Here it is. Here, let's check into the most interesting man.
His charm is so contagious, vaccines have been created for it. Years ago, he built a city out of blocks. Every time he goes for a swim, dolphins appear. Alien abductors have asked him to probe them. If he were to give you directions, you'd never get lost. And you'd arrive at least 5 minutes early. His legend precedes him. He is the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah, there we go. So what about the most interesting man in the world there, Dogzilla? You like that? I remember that commercial. That commercial was so funny. Remember when he started playing those commercials? He is the most interesting man. He once caught a barracuda with his teeth. What the hell is this? Such funny commercials. They were so funny. Yes, there are a lot of people in Minnesota wearing signs. That's for sure. USCIS, I imagine, or Homeland Security. I'm not sure which. PRM, I'm not really sure. I'm trying to find out. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we can get a bunch of people together. So I will get there, try to get there a reasonable hour so it's not too dark. I'll probably do my live stream Monday at 9:30 or 10 o'clock because it's a holiday. Go for 2 hours and then leave, or an hour and a half. If I leave here at 11, I should be there by 4:30. Yep. So. Oh, old-time comedians were funny. Yeah, Jack Benny's hilarious. You know, he's such a miser. So funny. Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, people probably wondering about Minneapolis. The Trump administration has begun a criminal investigation into the sedition, insurrection, and the misdeeds alleged of Small Fry Jacob and Stolen Valor Timmy Walz. Williams court case again. Yep. Yeah, I've got a lot coming up now. I got a trip to Rochester on Monday, Tuesday, possibly Wednesday. Then Friday, we got Julius Malema sentencing. The following week, I'm off to Texas. Whew. Pretty soon, I'll have my consulting at the War College. Man, it's just all happening. All right, let's get to this newsy stuff here, okay? Justice Department's investigation of major escalation in the state federal battle over the conduct of immigration agents in Minneapolis. Trump administration opened a criminal investigation into elected Democrats in Minnesota, a major escalation of the fight between the federal government and local officials over aggressive immigration crackdown. It's not aggressive. The immigration officials have been very restrained. It's the lunatics that these morons have seditiously put on the streets and endanger public safety that are active. The investigation will focus on allegations that Governor Tim Walz and Jacob Frey conspired to impede thousands of federal agents who have been sent to the city since last month. Yep. Remain unclear what investigative steps have been taken. Senior law enforcement officials said subpoenas had yet to be issued. But I saw earlier that subpoenas were issued, so I'm not really sure what the statement is. And the Washington Times says the Justice Department says subpoenas have been issued for obstructing federal law enforcement. This clown, this brainless twit, this stolen valor liar who falsely claimed he was in combat, Trump, and then he wussed out of an actual deployment to Iraq. The Trump Justice Department is pursuing an investigation into top Minnesota political leaders for impeding federal law enforcement and has issued subpoenas according to news reports. Well, first off, Dogzilla, there are no troops. First off, get your facts correct. There's no troops. The U.S. military is not involved in any of these operations, so that's factually incorrect. And who gives a shit whether they want anything to do with them? It's called the Supremacy Clause. The federal government has supremacy on this issue, immigration. If the criminals in the city of Minneapolis had simply turned over the 1,360 convicted felons in their custody on a retainer to the Justice Department, there would be no agents in Minneapolis. Like Florida does, like North Carolina does, like Ohio does, like Pennsylvania does, like virtually every other state in the country, every major metropolitan city in the country, except these lunatic left-wing cities like Seattle and San Francisco, Chicago, Minneapolis. Losers who have undermined public safety if they had simply turned them over. But no, they prefer to release rapists, murderers, and pedos, and child abusers, bank robbers, armed robbers, into the streets. 472 convicted foreign aliens convicted of crimes in America, including murder, rape, released into the streets of Minneapolis by Jacob Small Fry. Now, Dogzilla, you're not going to win this one because you're factually wrong. You're completely wrong. Oh, by the way, Dogzilla, not to quibble with you, but remember how you told me that the refugees were traveling? You had refugees. First off, you told me these refugees came to Washington State, and I said that's not true. No refugees got to Washington State. You insisted it was true. Then I produced a document that showed that no refugees have been settled in Washington State, and you said, oh, well, they came here from somewhere else, so you changed the story. You also told me they went to Italy, and I said, okay, fine, but that's not allowed. But you said, no, but they did. This is the letter from Church World Services they give to the refugees when they close their cases out. Prior to adjusting status to permanent residency, which would be a green card, refugees are unable to travel outside the United States and re-enter with refugee status. In other words, you surrender by leaving. In order to travel outside the United States and re-enter the United States with refugee status prior to adjusting status, refugees must complete an I-131 refugee travel document. If you have questions on completing the I-131, contact a qualified immigration professional. And that's what I said. You cannot leave without permission of the government. You cannot be a refugee and leave the country without permission of the government. You surrender your refugee status. And why is that? Because if you go on vacation in Italy or in San Marino or in Spain, we cannot protect you. We have no jurisdiction there. We have jurisdiction here. Remember that story? I remember that. Armored vehicles and trains. I saw that. I have no idea what that was. I saw those. They look like Mambas or something like that. Someone sent me the video on Telegram. In fact, I haven't. I haven't talked about it because I didn't have the location. So let me see. I have the video. Let me save it here. I got this a couple of days ago, and I see, guys. I get stories. I don't always run with them because I can't verify this. So this came on January 12th. So I've had this for 4 days. This was from Potchefstroom. Yeah, I take between Three Riviere and Meyerton in Flanagan. So if it was headed to Cape Town, maybe it was headed to Cape Town. But this was from 4 days ago. So let me see. Okay. Where the hell's it at? Oh, I hate when it does this. That's annoying. Okay, so where's it at? Let me see. Let me do this here. Oh, man, this is really annoying. Okay, I got to save it again. Oh, it's saved there. That's why. Okay, that's the wrong place. Not supposed to save there. Save it in that folder. No wonder. That's not where it's supposed to be. Okay, so I've had this for 4 days and I haven't run with the story. I don't run every story. I have lots of stories, folks. I've had this CW and this story. See, look, there you go. There, look at reconnaissance vehicles. That's a lot. The Caspers, really? That's a Casper there. That's a Casper. The first ones weren't. That's not on a loop. There's a Rottels. Yeah, there's some Rottels too. That's a crap load of vehicles. Yeah, they are Rottels at the back. Bye, Dogzilla. He doesn't like being called out. Enjoy your evening, Dogzilla. Yeah, so I've had that for 4 days. I haven't done anything with it. I don't know. It was. I don't know where it's going. It's headed south. It looked like. Yep, I have no idea. But this was in South Africa, and I didn't know the provenance of the person who sent it to me. I trust implicitly. Yep. Once you have a green card, I believe you can then. Yep. You don't need a visa to go to Canada, although in your case as a refugee, you might. All you need to go to Canada from the U.S. is a passport. As a refugee, I don't know if they honor that. That's a good question. I've never talked to a refugee who went on vacation in Canada. Yep. Yeah, U.S. It's a good question. I don't know the answer to it, though. 2 cargo vessels and 1 frigate. Yeah, hey, what's that? There's a conspiracy theory there, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know they had that many operational vehicles either, Martini. I know they have many vehicles. They have a lot of them mothballed. Yep. Yep. When Zuma was jailed, it was in KZN, where he has support. Not a surprise. And the 354, Joel, is what was officially announced. We all know that was many more than that. What will happen if Malema is jailed? I don't think a whole lot's going to happen if Malema is jailed. Future looks bright. Our entire defense force on rails. Where are they going? Don't know. Don't know. Look, I don't like conspiracy theories, but this is too good a story to pass up, isn't it? I mean, I've been sitting on it for 4 days and no further information has come my way. But one could easily make the I could do the clickbait. I could have done a clickbait video on this. I could have said, look at this. Here's an Iranian ship that can handle massive amount of cargo. Look at these South African armored vehicles traveling on a train to Cape Town. Are they headed Simonstown? What's happening? What's happening? Is South Africa equipping Iran with vehicles to murder its citizens? I mean, I could have done all that. I could have done the 4 days, got clickbait, got tons of views. But I don't play that game. I wish I had the answer, but I need facts. Supposition is one thing, but I need facts. Okay, well, I now have in possession an internal document, which all of you can get by clicking on that if you want. Boy, they came out with this very quickly, didn't they? Almost like they had it prepared. Almost like they had it prepared. Very suspicious. 228 people currently here, folks. I'm printing off this document. How many pages is it? Jeez. I thought it was 3. It's more than 3. Oh, here's all my lineups for tomorrow. So I got those for tomorrow. I have to set those up. I still haven't done that. Okay. All right. There's the lineups. All right. Let's see what it says. Gonna need the reading glasses. This one's small. Check your Dogzilla's chat to you. They have 2 South families where he lives and explain it to you. Okay, see, but he changed his story again. Thank you for telling me to go back. He changed his story. He changed his story. Who was here? Who was here when Dogzilla came in here initially and said, oh, the refugees can travel. These guys went to Italy. It wasn't a problem. They didn't ask for any permission. Now he's saying the State Department said it was okay. That's not what Dogzilla said when he came. Who's here? Who can back me up on that? Anybody? Was anybody here when Dogzilla first started coming on here and talking about the refugees? Anybody? Bueller, anybody? Okay, Ocular Smile remembers that. He said that these first off, he said the refugees were in Washington State, and I said no refugees have been settled in Washington State, and he told me that's not true. And I said settled in Washington State. He said yes, they settled it here. Then later, after we got the report that said 0 refugees had been sent to Washington State, he said, well, they came here. They moved, and I never denied that. I said they must have moved there on their own volition, but, you know, he later said that. But that's not what he said in the beginning. Then he later said that they went on vacation in Italy. I said, you can't do that. Not unless you get permission from the State Department. He said they didn't need permission. They just went. Now he's saying that the State Department said it was okay. Well, if he just told the truth on that from the beginning, we wouldn't have any beef. But he was intentionally trolling, or he didn't know the facts, and he was just saying what he thought was true. Whichever the case is, see this, you're not going to get me because I don't play games. I deal in facts. Oh, we'd love to send the feds to Portland. I hope Malema gets jail time, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, the company won't incriminate themselves in their own document. Talk to this military in one of his videos. Apparently there will be a parade and show where these vehicles are displayed. No need to alarm. A parade? Really? Why weren't these vehicles in the Congo? Why were troops out there with no body armor, with no boots, with no tents, with no helmets, with no medevac? And they have all these vehicles. No, I have no idea. That's why I said I could. But I know other creators who would have taken that video 4 days ago. Look at this. No, clickbait headline. Look what's happening. I don't do that. I've got lying scumbags in South Africa who make such claims that I do that, but I don't do that. Could have easily done that. Didn't do it. Yep, you guys were here. Change the story. Exactly. Alexander says you have to get permission to leave the States. And I said that before anybody knew anything about it, before any of you came over here. Because people asked me that question. Well, can I come back to South Africa? No. Except in extreme circumstances. A family member dying, a family member is dead, you have to go back. Because it doesn't make any sense. You can't go back to South Africa. What about other countries? Can I go to Europe? I said, you can't without permission. But if you have permission, you can go. And remember that Canadian immigration expert, the guy that's making money, went on to Newsroom Africa, and that make-upped up announcer. So, what do you take about this program? He's like, well, refugee status is a black mark. It's a stain. You can't go anywhere in the world as a refugee. People will look at you and with a skewed view because you're a refugee. And I said, that's bullshit. That's not true. It's not a black mark. It's actually good. It means you're worthy of protection. Someone's granted you a protection, and they're going to shield you and give you succor and protect you and give you refuge. It's not a bad thing. It just means that you have to have removal to go somewhere. All right. Exactly, Joe, Texas. All right, let's see what this says. In early May 2025, a program manager assigned to the company's project was approached by U.S. and national authorities at an airport in his home country. During the interaction, U.S. representatives presented a letter along with images of previously confiscated containers. The letter alleged that hacked software from Lockheed Martin had been installed in the PCs containing these units. After thorough investigation, the following facts are clear. The mobile learning units were shipped from Oudtshoorn, 23 September, and departed Durban port on 15 October via Costco, Chinese shipping company, a Chinese state-owned shipping company. The cargo was transported in a container, and it gives the ship number. The containers were scheduled for transshipment in Singapore, where they were reportedly confiscated by U.S. authorities in November 2024. Well, that's not the ones that were just confiscated. Since then, multiple attempts to obtain clarity on the status, location, legal status of the seizure have yielded no response. Costco, the contract carrier, has either deferred all inquiries or failed to provide any substantive feedback. The lack of transparency and coordination strongly suggests the matter is being managed under a broader geopolitical directive rather than through standard legal or commercial processes. Department of Justice is the ones that seizing these things. The containers in question do not include any flight simulation equipment nor advanced systems or any form of sophisticated technology. They house only basic training infrastructure, which can be readily verified through physical inspection. Each mobile learning unit consists solely of individual workstations featuring a desk with a monitor cut out and a commercial off-the-shelf Windows PC. Why are you shipping that, a commercial off-the-shelf PC, to China? They make all the computers. Project-specific software was removed before shipment of the PCs. The only software installed at the time of export were licensed commercial off-the-shelf copies of Windows. One extra PC per container over and above the individual workstations. And there was a licensed copy of LM Prepared 3D. There was no modification or authorized use. On December 12, 2024, nearly 2 months after shipment, the subcontracted South African software company provided a legal notice to LM. The letter stated that all previously purchased licenses were being revoked under clause, and the notice instructed immediate cessation of use and destruction of copies. Over 10 years ago, the software provider reviewed the P3ED end-user license agreement and noted that China was not listed under section. There was no awareness at the time of the implications. Specific software in question is a camera view function. Subsequent to receiving legal notice from Lockheed Martin in December 2024, the software provider had been actively rewriting the portion of software that relied on P3D to generate external views. New solution uses alternative software that does not require a license for export, thereby ensuring full compliance. Anyway, it goes on and on here. Conclusion, there's no evidence of illegal software use or export violations. Licenses in question were lawfully purchased and used in good faith under the assumption of compliance for the entire duration. The internal software development process was legal and transparent, and where required, all corrective actions were taken that no such restricted software was ever used by or delivered to any client. Upon receipt of a letter from Lockheed Martin, all use of reference software was immediately ceased. Containers in question were basic mobile classrooms consisting only of custom desks and commercial off-the-shelf technology, Windows PCs. Confiscation of the containers occurred unannounced and remains without any cause communicated to the affected parties. Individuals have since been unjustly confronted with accusations of intimidation based on this action. Confidential internal document. How does an internal document like this make it out into the world, into my hands in Pennsylvania? Sounds to me like it was leaked intentionally. which undermines credibility. Oh, that's weird, Rohan. That's weird. That's YouTube. If they can do all those in China, why are the schools... Yeah, why are they exporting? If it's all commercial off that technology the Chinese have, then why are you exporting it to China? See, it just doesn't pass the common sense test. Yeah, and I will go back to the actual... Did I close that? Hang on a second here. I think I might have closed that. Hang on. Yeah. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, here it is. So they can say what they want, but this is from the Justice Department, and that's not 2024, it's 2026. United States files 2 forfeiture actions against 2 anti-submarine warfare crew trainers en route from South Africa for the Chinese military. They filed a forfeiture complaint against 2 mission crew trainers that were interdicted in transit. That's not what they said it was. They said this was a just a commercial off-the-shelf system with PCs. That says a mission crew trainer. Yep. It says the Flying Academy South Africa masquerades as a civilian flight training academy, but in fact is a significant enabler of Chinese air and naval forces pipeline for transferring NATO aviation expertise, operational knowledge, and restricted technology directly to the People's Liberation Army. Assistant Attorney General for National Security John Eisenberg. National Security Division will continue to act decisively to preserve U.S. military's qualitative advantage by preventing U.S. technology from falling into the hands of our adversaries. When you buy U.S. technology, there's end-user permissions. You're not allowed to transfer these things to third parties. So Botswana, when I arrived, I said this before, I told the story. When I arrived as a security cooperation officer in Botswana in 2008, I had to deal with an issue immediately, like the day I got there, literally the day I got there. Botswana was in trouble. I'm like, what are they in trouble for? Botswana's an easy country to get along with. They had sold 100 Humvees at auction. Sounds like a minor thing, right? They belong to them, except they don't. When we give military technology or sell military technology to a country, it doesn't belong to that country as far as transfer or disposal. It must be disposed of in a proper fashion or transferred under authority granted by the U.S. government. You simply can't sell those Humvees. They're war material. We don't want the Humvees winding up in the hands of a warlord in the Congo. Not that Botswana would do that, but they would sell it to a third party who would then sell it to them. So they have to have our approval. In this case, it didn't. So I had to go to a lot of hoops and jump through hoops to keep Botswana out of trouble and get that taken care of and get verified where the things went. They were sold for scrap and torn apart. So I went and verified all that, and that kept them out of trouble. Yep. Exactly, Monray. You can buy new computers in China cheaper than that. They probably have much better simulators than South Africans could ever put together. Whereas 2 overload transport manganese and iron ore, but now the roads are hammered by trucks and they have full trains of military vehicles. You can leave the USA, but you cannot re-enter unless you have a refugee travel document. But you can't leave the USA without the State Department's permission. It says so right there, and that's what I've said all along. Yeah, Ingrid, people who think they can trick you or trap you in a nonsense story should think twice, and they have no idea who they're dealing with when it comes to clickbait. You're far above the sly deception. Yep. Thank you for that. Nothing more embarrassing concerning than seeing your own tech or equipment in the hands of your adversaries. Exactly. Hey, Tomahawk, what's going on? I'm all right. Exactly, Rohan. You can't. And not to go on about, he was saying that these people went to Italy on a vacation. It was no big deal. How? Their passport has... What's in your passport? Does something in your passport, your visa say you're a refugee? I don't know. I've not seen one. Rohan, you're a refugee. Is there something in your passport that indicates you're a refugee? I would imagine your visa would indicate that. I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't seen a passport. I haven't asked the refugees I came in contact with to show me that. Do you think Iranian interest out there is about the uranium? Neil DeBeer alluded to this one in his business episode, as he said before. Oh crap! I've got business. I'm on business Sunday. I almost forgot about that. Yep. Woke up, had some coffee, dust and sleep out. Okay. All right. Yeah. But so I made that video, and so I simply reported what the government said, and I added my own analysis to that. So interesting to see. But I don't know the provenance of that. So thanks for the PayPal. Oh, it logged me out of PayPal. Do I need to use a PIN again? No. Oh, yes, I got to use a PIN again. Good gosh. That's a little too much hyper security there, man. And I got the Venmo going. I hope I gave the right information to him for that. I won't use it. Okay. Okay. Schmidt. All set. Then take me there. Calgon, take me away. PayPal. Nope, nobody else did. Okay, cool. Is your back also better? No, my back wasn't affected by it, but my back was bothering me from sitting in this chair and sitting awkwardly, but now it feels better the last day or so. It's the same as selling weapons elite, correct? I'm not sure. I just know that these guys do a lot of paperwork. Well, just look in your passport and see what it says. Well, we could have a Lady R situation going on here. Maybe that's why the Iranians are actually there. Maybe this whole exercise was a cover so they can ship things out. Why is South Africa parade? You already had Reconciliation Day. What event is coming up? A parade for who? In Cape Town? For the president? The man who can't draw flies? The man who can't draw flies. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Charles. Yep. Yeah, can't draw flies. Okay, so here's their statement. Download the report. Oh, okay, they put it on their website. Okay. All right, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mad Max. Statement regarding U.S. Department of Justice media release. Okay. Company notes U.S. Department of Justice press release published regarding the consignment of surge procedures. The company's transfer rejects the allegations. Rejects any suggestion that NATO expertise was transferred or any U.S. military technology, defense technical data, or other restricted information was exported in breach of applicable laws. Basic mobile classroom units. Well, that's funny. If we've had them since 2024, we would know. To avoid the further spread of inaccurate information, the company is publishing an independent, fact-based investigation that was conducted last year and concluded mid-2025. The attached report sets out a factual, evidence-based account of the events, the contents of containers, the software and equipment involved, and the actions taken by all parties. The report addresses specific allegations relating to the contents of containers and the software referenced in recent media coverage. Taking together the facts make clear the media allegations are unfounded and disproportionate, and that their pursuit reflects a broader geopolitical context directed at disrupting lawful business conducted transparently in good faith. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Media inquiries. All right. Well, I'm going to write to these guys. Where's my email? There it is. Hang on, folks. It's 16 or 15. When? 15 January. 15 January. Sorry, guys. All right. All right, so I've sent them a message. Give them an opportunity to respond. I'm writing everybody now. Well, Martini, that's the thing. So I find it implausible to believe that the container was seized in 2024 during the Biden administration, which likes South Africa. He loves South Africa. And that the Justice Department under Biden would have held on to this thing since 2024 and not done anything with it. You know? What date did they say it was claimed? They said June 20. Hang on a second. September of 2024. October, November, December, January. 4 months the Biden administration had this. If there was nothing to it, why didn't they release it in 4 months? Yeah. Who are we messaging? I'm messaging the Flight Academy South Africa. Now, I've previously reported that they've been a problem. What the hell's going on? Is there something? Is there hair there? Yeah, there's a hair hanging down from my head. Look, I had a cracked skin there. If I were Nancy, I listened to the interview they did with Maduro's one guard, and that sounded scary. Yep. It's going to cost me. We were hyper concerned a while back when Army vehicles showed up in droves, whole camp set up in the caravan park. Oh, okay. 3Ds, deny, deflect, and denounce. Yep. I've been trying to keep abreast of conflict in Yemen with the Saudis. It's difficult. There's so much going on. Mara, I said that. Maybe it sounds way to Saudi stones. Pala, but with incoming Iranian money for exporting equipment. Who knows? Yep. Sloth puppy. Okay, guys, we're wrong. All the military equipment is to announce the accession of the Democratic Alliance into the ANC under John Steenhuisen. Catering at Palabora back in the year 2000, extended public works program. Hey, thanks. Oh, interview went well. They're reviewing some paperwork. Oh, so you've got a start date. Congratulations, Rohan. You got a job. That's cool. All right, cool. As far as I know, Charles, there are refugees in San Antonio. I don't know any of them. I've just been told that. So, I mean, I can't verify. It's just what I've been told by third party. Okay. So, yep, interesting. What is this? 21 languages. Some of my videos have been translated into 20. So my video's been watched in 21 languages. Wow. Some are 2. That would be English and Afrikaans most likely. But 21 languages for the South African. That means people all over the world watch that video. Wow. I've never tried that. Look to see. Wow. That's fascinating. 121,500 we finally hit, folks. And it looks like the video from last night is taking off again. Let's see. Yep. 1,000 in the last hour. So it's picked up. Yep. That's good news. So we're at 21,900. Cool. This says it's at 25,000. Ooh, maybe I need to refresh that page. Videos. Let's see. It says 21,900. Let me refresh it. 25,000. Oh, yeah. It's picked up. 2,300. Yeah. It's taken off now. 25,000 views. Well, that's good. It's taken off now. That is awesome. Yeah. Yep. Cool beans. Do you think that U.S. intelligence service aware of what, Joe? Of that? Yeah, of course. Of course. How do you think that the... let me ask you this question, Joe Texas. How do you think that the Justice Department found out about it to seize it in Singapore? How do you think we communicate to the Singapore authorities? We don't own Singapore. It's not ours. there would have had to be an agreement with the Singapore authorities to let us seize that, because that's where they said it was seized, in Singapore. Was it not? It said Singapore. That's what I remember it saying. Yeah. Oh, they were wait a second. Well, maybe they're seized at sea because they were scheduled for transshipment to Singapore. Oh yeah, it says where they were reportedly confiscated by U.S. authorities in November 2024. Okay, not September. Okay. So, okay, departed. So November. So November, December, January. They had 3 months. Huh. So, yeah, November 2024. So they had 3 months. There are a lot more ways to find this information out than satellites. Without disclosing sources and methods, there are a lot of ways to find this out. San Antonio is fine, lots of jobs, lovely riverwalk, jazz music, hotness. Oh, it's brutal in the summer. I've been there. I went 3 summers in a row to San Antonio in August. I nearly died. Yep. But I have some lovely stuff from Oaxaca. In fact, let me get that. You can see when people are in the U.S., their chat names change. Yeah, they do. Yeah, but they still super chat in Rand because they haven't got any money in the U.S. yet. Let me go see if I can find something from Oaxaca. It's beautiful. I'll be right back. So I went to San Antonio and I bought these, and they're just lovely. They were a little pricey, but they're handmade in Oaxaca, and I got them all back, without breaking. I forget how I did this, but these are incredible. These are made in Mexico, and they're brought into San Antonio. They have a craft shops, all these shops down there. So get ready for being impressed. Here's a cat. Look at that. Incredible. Beautiful. Handmade, always unique. Yeah, it's beautiful, huh? I've got a bigger owl. That was the smaller one. Yeah, they're made in Mexico. They're beautiful. Oh, I bought those. No one gave them to me. I bought those in San Antonio. And we saw a bunch of short soldiers, the Mexican flag going up. Huh. Yeah, the owl's pretty amazing. But that's the small owl. I have much bigger owls like this big. Yeah, they're really awesome. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, thank you, Yvonne, for the 35 Rand. Yep. Yep. Tinky Geezer, what's going on? How's it going, Angelique? Louise Duplessis. I bought a shoebox full of the most beautiful tiles. Yeah, you'd have to lug it around. Oh, you're an amateur potter. Okay. Well, that's interesting, Jules. Thanks for sharing that. Yep. So where were we at? We were talking about... wow. Where did everybody go? We were talking about the Department of Justice. So the subpoenas for Timmy Walz. And Department of Justice investigation into the governor and Minneapolis mayor. Justice Department investigating Minneapolis Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey over possible obstruction of federal law enforcement. Sources familiar with the matter told CNN. President Trump and his administration have been critical of state and local officials' response to unrest in Minnesota over the presence of immigration and customs enforcement agents, with the president suggesting he might invoke the Insurrection Act. A judge has restricted the immigration agent's actions. Now, how does he do this? A federal judge ordered agents not to retaliate against people engaging in peaceful and unobstructed protest. But that's not what's happening. And not to stop drivers who are not forcibly obstructing officers. Well, if they're blocking the street, they're forcibly obstructing officers. Judge Kate Menendez ordered agents not to retaliate against people engaged in peaceful and obstructive. You don't need to tell them or use pepper spray, crowd dispersal, retaliation for protected speech. Protected speech is not invading the space of law enforcement and obstructing an operation. So this is nonsense. This judge has overstepped her bounds. She's overstepped her bounds. Put there by Biden. It puts the court in the business of micromanaging officers' conduct through Minnesota. The lawsuit, of course, was filed by the American Criminal Liberties Union. It's not peaceful or unobstructed, correct? The rugby's 3 games. Let me see which they are real quick. Off the top of my head, I don't know off the top of my head. Okay. Got Sharks versus Clermont. That's the first game at 8 o'clock, which would be 3 o'clock South Africa time. Then it's the Stormers versus Leicester at 10:15, which would be 5:15. And then the final game is Perpignan versus the Lions. That's at 12:30 my time, so 7:30 South African time. Cheetahs playing Sunday. I'm not sure I'll be covering that game. Yep, so Sharks, Stormers, Lions. And the Bulls won today. They won. Pretty cool. Do they work? Do who work? Mara, people are asking you for a name. Well, the Iran protests seem to have died down. Massive disappointment and disillusionment, said one Tehran resident. The human rights group acknowledged that demonstrations have been subdued since Sunday, with thousands of people now detained. Heavy police presence, deadly crackdowns on protests appear to have largely suppressed demonstrations in many cities and towns across Iran. For weeks, Iran has been convulsed by protests sparked by a collapsing economy and a currency in freefall, with the demonstrations snowballing into a broader anti-government movement. The authorities have sought to quell the protests with brutal force and plunged the country into communications blackouts, made it difficult to know what's happening. 4 residents reached out to New York Times from Tehran, said the streets are mostly quiet. Protests this week as the severity of the crackdown, the high number of casualties became clear. Security forces were deployed in large numbers in nearly every neighborhood. All 4 spoke in condition of anonymity. There's massive disappointment and disillusionment. Yep. Israeli Defense Assessment found the scale of protests declined noticeably since Sunday. Yep. After they started using live ammunition and internet blackout. Trump thanks Iran for halting the executions. President Trump took the unusual step on Friday of thanking the Iranian government for not following through on executions, what he said was meant to be hundreds of political prisoners. Iran canceled the hanging of over 800 people. Well, they're still in prison. Sorry, how's that supposed to be good, President Trump? Yeah, he went from locked and loaded to hitting pause on striking Iran. They were prepared for a strike on Wednesday, but the president was advised it could lead to prolonged Middle Eastern conflict. Yep. 3 days after he told people help was on the way, Trump said there would be no imminent strikes on Iran. So he blinked. Hey, Fred, what's going on? Okay, Mara, once again, you're not telling anybody anything. Karen has asked you for the name of it. Oh. So you didn't make note of it. So the Chinese are trying something new. They're using Chinese commercial fishing vessels to obstruct the East China Sea. Check this out. They've done this now a couple times, several drills. They tell them all to leave the ports. Those are ships at sea. And they form a barrier with thousands of ships. Look at that. January 9th to January 12th, they all move and they block the East China Sea. That's insane. 200 miles, 360 kilometers. 320 kilometers, excuse me. 320 kilometers, all these ships go there. Wow. China quietly mobilized thousands of fishing boats twice in recent weeks to form a massive floating barrier at least 200 miles long, 320 kilometers, showing a new level of coordination that could give Beijing more ways to impose control in contested seas. The two recent operations unfolded largely unnoticed. Analysis of ship tracking data by the New York Times reveals the scale and complexity of the maneuvers for the first time. Last week, about 1,400 Chinese vessels abruptly dropped their usual fishing activities or sailed out of their home ports and congregated in the East China Sea. By January 11th, they had assembled into a rectangle stretching more than 200 miles. The formation was so dense that some approaching cargo ships appeared to skirt around them or had to zigzag through, ship tracking data showed. Look at this. Wow. Wow. Maritime military experts said the maneuver suggested China was strengthening its maritime militia, which is made up of civilian fishing boats joined to train in military operations. The January 11th maneuver followed a similar operation last month when 2,000 Chinese fishing boats assembled in two long parallel formations on Christmas Day in the East China Sea. Each stretched 290 miles, about the distance from New York City to Buffalo, forming a reverse L. Look at this. Wow. The unusual formations were spotted by Jason Wang, a chief operating officer of Ingenious Space, a company that analyzes data that were independently confirmed by the Times using ship location data by Starboard Marine Intelligence. I was thinking to myself, this is not right. Describing his response when he spotted fishing boats on Christmas Day. I mean, I've seen a couple hundred, let's say high hundreds, but nothing of the scale of this distinctive formation. In a conflict or crisis, for instance, over Taiwan, China could mobilize tens of thousands of civilian ships, including fishing boats, to clog sea lanes and complicate military supply operations. Chinese fishing boats would be too small to effectively enforce a blockade, but they could possibly obstruct movement by American warships. The massive smaller boats could also act as missile and torpedo decoys, overwhelming radars or drone sensors with too many targets. Analysts tracking the ships were struck by the scale of the maneuvers, even given China's record of mobilizing civilian boats, which was involved in anchoring boats for weeks in contested reefs. The sight of that many vessels operating in concert is staggering. That's insane. They stayed in position for 30 hours. Wow. A bold step in China's effort to gather fishing boats together. Here they are in contested waters back in 2023. This is insane. And China's, this is the ANC's friend. This is what they're doing. Marshalling commercial fishing boats to block the sea lanes. Yeah. There's no doubt that China is a malignant actor. They're marshaling to put those boats on the other side of Taiwan so U.S. forces can't get there to defend Taiwan. That's what it's all about. I haven't forgotten about China. No, Green, I haven't forgotten about China. I haven't forgotten about North Korea. No one's talking about North Korea, but I still have my eye on North Korea. I still have my eye on Myanmar. Well, sure, at the point of a gun, you can get anything to mobilize. You can get anything to mobilize at the point of a gun. Anything at the point of a gun. People fear for their lives. You can make anything happen. What's with this frickin'... Okay. So, once again, this case has never been decided. So, the Israeli case went to the ICJ immediately, but now we're just now getting the Gambia case, which they took years ago to the court, before the court. Look at this. Why the Gambia wants Myanmar punished for Rohingya genocide. Was the first to take another country to the ICJ as a third-party rights defender. But there's no ANC there. The Gambia's landmark case accusing Myanmar of committing genocide began in international court this week. But they brought it years ago. The Gambia's Attorney General Justice Minister told judges that the Rohingya were targeted for destruction by Myanmar's government. Yep. The refugees are expected to testify in closed sessions. Experts say the court's decision in the case could have complications for the widely filed South African genocide case, which was filed in 2023. But they filed this case 6 years ago, over 5 years ago in 2019, accusing them of genocide. A small Muslim majority country, the Gambia, which is 2.5 million people, brought the case on behalf of the 57-member Organization for Islamic Cooperation, of which it's an active member. Yep. 7 countries, Canada, Denmark, the Netherlands, Germany, the Maldives, France, and Britain, have successfully applied to support the Gambia's case, but not South Africa. The moral ground. Why haven't they joined the case? There are 7 countries that have filed to join the case, but not South Africa. Not South Africa. And I've said that all along. I keep exposing this. This is something I've been talking about for years. Something I've been talking. Hi, hey, Carlos. Okay. Mari found it earlier. Let me find her comment there. Hey, Gina, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, really? Really? Well, she's going to find herself in a lot of trouble. She's already committed slander against me and defamation. So she's an American, and that's actionable. She's also not very bright, so I don't know what she could possibly do. So how do you know? What did she say, Mara? Thank you. Make Iran great again, an AI song. That's funny. Yeah, she has 516 subscribers, 17 videos. And a few of them have been nothing but slander. So, anyway. I'm not losing any sleep over something else. Exactly. Update Kiss correct. Do not trust the case portal. Just be patient. Yep. Chinese plastic wrap. That's a good way to good thing to start. Thank you, Mara. Okay. But where does she say that? I don't see anything titled that, so I don't know what it's about. She must have said it inside of one of her videos. No, there's news, but it's from earlier. Nothing recent. So, break our addiction to Chinese crap. What is the U.S. military rule for minimum distance allowed near it for third country ships? Guy, that's an international thing. I don't know what the rule is. I mean, I don't know that rule. It's a naval thing. I missed Mara's fault. She did that one. What time was that? So I see Mara's comment at 11:44. Okay. I'm looking for another M over here. There it is. Okay. It says check my comment earlier. There's no comment between there. So Gina told me who she's talking about, but is that the person you're talking about, Mara? Because I don't see another comment. I went straight through. There's no comment from you there. That's crazy how that happens. Comments just disappear. Check my earlier comment. And your earlier comment was... I'll come looking for it again. There's nothing there. YouTube is funny. YouTube is funny. Anyone saw the interview with Stickman, Pinocchio, Devil's Child left us? No, who's that? Oh, they're waiting to catch sharks. That's what it is. Okay, I'm sorry, Sally. I got it wrong. I'll admit that. Yes, future looks bright. Some people are just trying to make money off YouTube. Others are trying to create disinformation channels. Back to the point, someone said, why don't I create my RFT? Because that's when this all started. Last year, people were like, why don't you run a RFT agency? Number one, it's a huge undertaking. Number two, that's not what I'm interested in doing. There are organizations for that exist for a long time. That's not something I would be able to do and have up and running anytime soon. The guy in Philadelphia who started in March still doesn't have it up and running properly. So, it's tough. No, there's no way to pull out. I can't search it. It doesn't let me search it. That's the pain. That's what I don't like about it. The Navy, they're probably on rivers. The brown water operations belong to the Navy or Coast Guard. We have blue water and brown water operations. No, Rohan, I can't pull individual comments. I wish I could. Yeah, and some folks are trying, some folks are trying to make a name for themselves, and that's why most of these people attack me. And it's just so easy to eviscerate their stupidity. And they say their lies with such conviction. It's comical. Such conviction. They really do. So, but you can't stop the truth. The signal will get out. I want to find that one. That's hang on. Do that on YouTube. I bet I can find it. Mal, the signal gets out. Serenity. You can't stop the signal, Mal. Yep, that's the one. It's from the movie Serenity. It's great. Does it jump ahead here? I gotta look and see.
This is good. You guys always bring me the very best violence.
What a great movie that was, Serenity. I love that. It's all part of the Josh Whedon universe.
The signal.
Oh, that's it right there.
There is no news. There's the truth of the signal. What I see. And there's the puppet theater. The Parliament jester's voice from a somnambulant public.
Well, what about this? Did this make the puppet theater?
No, sir. And no law force flags either. I had to go into the security feed direct.
You can do that?
Can't stop the signal, Mal.
Can't stop the signal, Mal. Love that line. The signal gets out. You can't stop the signal. And that's the thing. You can't stop the truth. We've now had the Stoltze family interviewed by the largest newspaper in the world. The largest newspaper in the world. Now, if they run a story, that's great, and I hope they do. Yes, there are hundreds of them, Anton Mulder. I've dealt with International Rescue Committee. I've dealt with Jewish Family Services. I've dealt with several others. I've dealt with a small one. It's in Twin Falls, Idaho. That I think it's the only place they're located at. There are hundreds of these agencies. That's why I say we can't broad brush stroke them as all being guilty of misbehaving. Some are doing really. Yes, Serenity was a great movie, and it was a great way to tie up the things we didn't understand from. Shoot, damn it! What's the show? Malcolm Reynolds. Damn it. Chinese Navy spotted Limpopo. What? Firefly. Thank you so much. Gosh, Guy, it's late at night. Firefly. Yep. I love Firefly. It was a great show. Saw a comment for a spot second. It got deleted. Okay, that made it. See, her message got deleted. Why did her message get deleted? Okay, let me go see what my WhatsApp here. Okay. That's not real. That's not real. It's not gonna hurt. It's not real. That's a joke, Max. That's not real. Those are cruisers. Cruisers are they draw too much water. They couldn't possibly, even in a flooded river. That's okay. That's why you put it in WhatsApp instead of putting out. Well, hang on a second. Who's this? You're killing me, man. So one of the car guards out in Nevada has been part of a team for a short period, but brought on as an assistant project manager. Has done an outstanding job learning our process system, exceptional drive, continuous learning to be better. This person's drive and ambitions are exceptional, and great expectations for him to grow in our company. Can easily see this person climbing the ladder to success within our organization, to whatever they want to achieve. I really look forward to working with the person in 2026 and future years and seeing what that person will achieve and accomplish. This is one of the car guards out in Nevada, and that's a glowing evaluation from the supervisor at a company where the person was hired. But of course, we're only getting the dregs of South Africa according to certain people. Yeah. Okay, Firefly was a great show. Okay, now why keeps telling me, oh, how strong is Chinese Defense Force? They can start and get involved in the war. Even when they had no equipment, they invaded Korea. And it took everything we could to stop them. And it wound up being a stalemate and a meat grinder. But the Koreans, I mean, the Chinese sent 1 million men over the Korean border, and we only had tens of thousands of troops to face against them. And we wound up having the Chosun Reservoir, which was a disaster. That's where we met them in full force finally. But MacArthur and his arrogant German intelligence officer, I don't know how a German intelligence officer became part of the U.S. military, but the U.S. forces Japan, MacArthur and his arrogance told the forces to go all the way to the Yalu, and the lead elements, the reconnaissance units for the U.S. actually crossed the Yalu into China, which was a mistake, but they came right back. Meanwhile, Chinese were filtering in behind them, and then hundreds of thousands of Chinese just ran smack right into the Marines and the task force. What's his name? The Army task force there, Chosun task force. Chosun Reservoir. Yep. Faith, task force Faith, Colonel Faith, who died there. Yep. Yep. It was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. Some of the most horrific things. Okay, well, that's not going to help. Why did they do that? Okay, this is what I want. What's this? Is something holding up my damn browser now? Some freaking antis. Okay, Nightmare of the Chosun Reservoir. It's written by Matthew Seelinger, the chief historian. Oops, that's not right. Chief historian. There we go. The Battle of Chosun Reservoir. Yep. I wonder if I can zoom that up bigger. There we go. Yep. So the Chinese came in waves. You see the blue forces. The Marines were on the left side of the Chosun Reservoir. The Army, a fractured, mishmash unit of troops, was on the east side. They advanced up there, and the Chinese came at them from above, from behind, and encircled them. Udam Ni is where they first ran into the Marine Division, and then the Marines had to retreat back under fire. And Hagrari is where the command center was. It was just insane. It was insane. Absolutely insane. What happened at Chosun Reservoir was the most horrific situation ever. And what's so bad about it is that the Army was disparaged by the Navy. There was a scumbag chaplain or somebody on one of the Navy ships who was well known, and he spread rumors that the Army soldiers surrendered. They were cowards. They were outnumbered hundreds to one, not 100 to 1, but hundreds to one. Thousands of troops for every American soldier. It was so cold, well below zero, that people survived the battle who were wounded because their blood wouldn't come out of their body. It froze, and it sealed their body so they wouldn't bleed death. Insane. Which newspaper interviewed the Stolze? The same one that interviewed me, the Japanese newspaper. That is Yomiuri Shimbun. Yomiuri Shimbun, which is the largest newspaper in the world with 6 million daily readers. They have 2 editions, morning and evening. Yep, so that's the one. Love Firefly. Yeah, Jules, it was great. Firefly, Cowboys in Space. That was so Firefly was what Gene Roddenberry wanted Star Trek to be. He wanted Star Trek to be Wagon Train to the Stars. That's how I described it. A Western in space. And Star Trek really wasn't a Western in space. They had a few episodes that kind of did with that, like the OK Corral, which was one of the dumbest episodes ever had. But Firefly was Wagon Train to the Space. Decades later. Josh Whedon's vision was brilliant. I mean, it was a world dominated by Mandarin and English, and the English speakers could speak Mandarin sometimes. And so they knew the languages, and they actually had colonies in space. They fired 6 shooters and stuff. It was incredible. Yep. Send me an email, Mara. There you go. Send me an email, please. Yes, all reputable newspapers had a morning and evening editions. Well, they still do. Yomiuri Shimbun still does that. I do like stuffed toys, but they have to be good quality. I don't like cheap stuff. So in late November 1950, at conclusion of the Korean War appeared to be close at hand. U.S., Republic of Korea, and UN force units had advanced deep into North Korea in an attempt to destroy any remaining North Korean People's Army units and reunite Korea under one government. Some units even reached the Yalu River, which separated Korea from Communist China. But just as UN forces launched what was hoped to be the final offensive, hundreds of thousands of Communist Chinese soldiers poured into Korea with almost no equipment. Many of them didn't even have rifles, overwhelming the UN troops and completely changing the nature of the war. They ran right into the shooting of the Americans, and as their fellow soldiers died next to them, they picked up their weapons. That's how they fought. Fighting extreme cold and over rugged terrain, the Americans and their allies were forced to retreat south down the Korean peninsula, suffering heavy casualties along the way. For one U.S. Army unit, the intervention of the Chinese Communist forces resulted in absolute disaster. The 31st Regimental Combat Team, better known as Task Force McLean, later known as Task Force Faith, but McLean because it was named after Colonel McLean, comprised of elements of the 7th Division, was virtually annihilated east of the Chosin Reservoir. The experiences the American soldiers who fought and died in the frigid cold of the Chosin area proved to be some of the most harrowing and tragic in the history of the U.S. Army. In late November, Task Force McLean and the rest of the 7th Division were part of the U.S. Army's 10th Corps under the command of Major General Edward Ullman. The 10th Corps had been steadily advancing up the eastern side of the Korean Peninsula and was pressing on towards the Yalu. On November 24th, the 8th Army, under the command of Lieutenant General Walton Walker, which had been advancing north along the western side of Korea, went on the offensive. General MacArthur, commander of all UN forces, hoped this offensive would finally end the war, hopefully by Christmas. Yet MacArthur and many on his staff were soon to make one of the worst military intelligence blunders in U.S. Army history. Ignoring reports of contact with Chinese Communist forces, MacArthur ordered the 8th Army and 10th Corps to push on to the Yalu. On the night of November 25th, one day after 8th Army began its offensive, the Chinese Communist forces struck 8th Army with massive numbers of troops. Thousands of Chinese soldiers armed with burp guns and grenades with bugles blaring swarmed the American positions. Several American units were overrun and destroyed. The Chinese Communist forces' onslaught took MacArthur and UN forces completely by surprise and almost instantly changed the tide of the war. Soon 8th Army was in headlong retreat southward. Despite the Chinese Communist forces' attack, the 10th Corps offensive, scheduled for the 27th of November, proceeded according to plan. The offensive called for the Corps to strike west towards Mupyong, northeast of Kuno, in the Chinese rear, cut the Chinese supply lines, and possibly envelop them in front of 8th Army. The attack would be spearheaded by the 1st Marine Division under the command of Major General O.P. Smith, which would advance up the west side of the Chosin Reservoir, with the 7th Infantry Division led by McLean along the east side, and the 3rd Infantry Division guarding. Now, the Marines had a full division. The Army had less than a brigade. Task Force McLean, under the command of Colonel Allen D. McLean, commander of the 31st Infantry Regiment, that's a battalion, had been formed in mid-November to relieve elements of 1st Marine Division. McLean, a 1930 graduate West Point, had served as a staff officer in European theater during World War II. After the war, he commanded the 32nd Infantry in Japan. Later assigned 8th Army's G3 section, he served as Walker's personal engineers during the early days of the Korean War. In early November, he eagerly accepted command of 31st Infantry, a unit he had served with in the Philippines early in his career. And here they are. Here's McLean and Faith in the 31st Regimental Combat Team. Here's their picture. They both died in this battle. They're on the right. Task Force McLean consists of following units: the 2nd and 3rd Battalions, 31st Infantry, but they weren't complete. 31st Tank Company, 1st Battalion, 32nd Infantry, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Don Faith, the 57th Artillery Battalion, equipped with 105 howitzers and a platoon of 8 anti-aircraft vehicles. So a brigade, essentially, but a brigade light. In all, Task Force McLean numbered 3,200 men, including 700 ROK soldiers. That's Korean. So of the 3,200, 700 were Republic of Korea soldiers. That means there were 2,500 Americans. On November 25th and 26th, the lead elements of Task Force McLean, Faith's 132 Infantry, relieved the 5th Marines, which redeployed to the east with the rest of the 1st Marine Division on the west side of the reservoir. However, due to delays with the rest of the task force redeployment, 132, which occupied 5th Marines' 4 positions, stood alone without artillery support for a full day. Don Faith, commander of the 132 Infantry, was considered one of the most promising officers in the U.S. Army, a lieutenant colonel. The son of a retired brigadier general, he had been handpicked from the officer candidate school at Fort Benning, and by then Major General Matthew Ridgway to serve as aide-de-camp. He served with Ridgway throughout Europe and jumped with the 82nd Airborne on D-Day. In battle, Faith was considered a virtual clone of Ridgway, intense, fearless, aggressive, and unforgiving of error or caution. Most Iranian units comprised Task Force McLean arrived on the east side of Chosin on the 27th. McLean was among the first to arrive and immediately jeeped forward to confer with Faith. He confirmed that the task force would attack north the following day with whatever forces were on hand and that the 132 would spearhead the attack. McLean positioned his forces north to south in their approximate order of arrival. 132 Infantry, McLean's forward command post, the 31st Heavy Mortar Company, 331 Infantry, 1st and 2nd Batteries, 57th Forward Artillery Battery, and 57th Forward Artillery Battery Command Post. 31st Infantry Headquarters. Anyway, later the day, McLean ordered the 31st Intelligence Reconnaissance Platoon to scout enemy positions. The platoon was ambushed in the hills around Chosin by Chinese Communist forces, and every soldier was either killed or captured. So he sent the Intelligence Reconnaissance Platoon out, and they were all killed or captured. Orville's pretty entertaining, too. I like that. That night, McLean laid out his plans for the next day's attack with the 7th ID Assistant Division Commander, Brigadier General Hank Hodes. They went forward to finalize the Faith. While McLean and Faith remained confident, Task Force McLean already faced serious problems. In addition to the disappearance of the Intelligence Reconnaissance Platoon, communications between the scattered units were poor at best. There was no time to lay landmines, or radio communications were virtually non-existent. Furthermore, the task force was not in radio contact with the 7th ID headquarters at Pungsan, or the Marine headquarters at Hagaru. The scattered units of Task Force McLean were dangerously isolated, not only from the rest of the ID division, but from the Marines, but also from each other. Also, unbeknownst to the Marines and Task Force McLean, massive numbers of Chinese Communist forces troops were preparing to attack the dispersed units of 10th Corps on the night of the 27th. 3 Chinese Communist Forces divisions, 59th, the 79th, and the 89th, were to hit the Marines at Udamni and Hagaru, along with the 7th Infantry Division, 3rd Infantry Division, and further south. 180th 80th Division would attack Task Force McLean. On November 27th, 10th Corps offensive began with the 5th and 7th Marines attacking Udamni along the west side of Chosin. In light of the rugged terrain, bitterly cold weather, logistical problems, and the situation facing 8th Army, the Corps offensive, in the words of one historian, ranks as one of the most ill-advised and unfortunate operations of the Korean War. The Marines, reluctant to carry out the attack in the first place, advanced only 1,500 yards before they met stiff Chinese Communist resistance and suffered heavy casualties. Later, after dark in 0-degree weather, the Chinese Communist division struck. 2 divisions hit the 5th and 7th Marines frontally, while a 3rd cut the road between Udam and Hagaru, basically isolating the Marines. Elements of another division also struck the 7th ID. The situation quickly became desperate for the American forces around Chosin. East of the Chosin Reservoir, the situation was just as chaotic. During the early evening hours, the Chinese 80th Division encircled the unsuspecting units of Task Force McLean. At about 2200th Division attacked out of darkness, with Chinese soldiers blowing bugles and screaming wildly. The isolated units, cut off from each other, fought for their lives. Faith's 132 Infantry was hit first along the north side of the perimeter. Marine Captain Edward Stanford, a forward air controller assigned to the task force, took command of Alpha Company after its commander was killed and also called in Marine airstrikes. While Marine aircraft and the troops of 132 inflicted heavy casualties in Chinese, the battalion suffered over 100 casualties. Several miles south, the situation was similar. The Chinese struck the 331 Infantry and 2 batteries of the artillery, overrunning much of their perimeter. Most of the senior officers were killed or wounded. The battle raged on through the night, with Chinese finally withdrawing at dawn for fear of the Americans' air attacks. Like the 132, the 331 and 57 suffered heavy casualties, and one of their vehicles was destroyed. Furthermore, the 31st Medical Company was wiped out. Back at the 31st Rear CP in Hudong, Brigadier General Hodes heard heavy gunfire to the north and immediately ascertained something was wrong. He quickly ordered Captain Robert Drake to take 2 platoons of the tank company forward to the 331 and 132 perimeters. Drake's rescue column, however, soon ran into trouble. Some tanks skidded out of control on the icy road, while others became hopelessly stuck in mud. The column was then attacked by Chinese troops with captured American bazookas. 2 tanks were knocked out, and a wild fight ensued as Chinese swarmed the tanks and attempted to open the hatches. 2 more tanks became mired and had to be abandoned. Drake orders remaining 12 tanks back to Hudong. Once the tanks returned, Hodes quickly realized Task Force McLean was in serious trouble. He borrowed one of the tanks and rode to Hagaru to get help. Man. About, what's this history making? At around midnight on the 29th, the 80th Division attacked Task Force McLean once again. The fighting was savage, often hand-to-hand. At around 2 a.m., McLean, still in the 132 perimeter, ordered the battalion to withdraw south in the darkness to the 331's perimeter, taking all weapons and wounded with him. The move was to be a temporary one to consolidate forces before attacking. After disabling and abandoning several vehicles and loading the wounded into trucks, McLean, Faith, and the 132 began moving south at 5 o'clock in the morning. Darkness and falling snow made the maneuver difficult, but fortunately, the Chinese did not attack. Along the way, the task force gathered up the 31st Heavy Mortar Company, which was located halfway between them. By dawn, the battalion reached the 331 perimeter, only to find it under heavy enemy attack as they arrived. Without communications, attempting to enter the perimeter would have been an extremely hazardous operation. Furthermore, the Chinese had created a roadblock at a bridge on the road leading into the perimeter. Faith led a party of men that successfully drove the Chinese off the bridge and cleared the block. McLean then came forward in his jeep. He spotted a column of troops whom he believed were his overdue 231. The troops within the 331 perimeter, however, began firing the column, much to the dismay of McLean. The troops were actually Chinese. McLean, still believing they were American, ran towards them, shouting, "Those are my boys." He dashed out onto the frozen reservoir towards the perimeter, attempting to stop what he believed was friendly fire. Suddenly, the Chinese troops concealed near the bridge fired on him, hitting me several times. McLean's men watched in horror as an enemy soldier grabbed him and dragged him into the brush. Unfortunately, there was no time to attempt to rescue McLean. Faith had to focus on getting his men into the perimeter. With the men crossing the frozen stream on foot and vehicles with the wounded dashing across the bridge, most of the column made it into the perimeter. Once in, Faith surveyed the carnage. Hundreds of American and Chinese dead littered the ground. The 331 had suffered over 300 casualties, and its L Company had ceased to exist. With McLean gone, Faith assumed command and did his best to strengthen the perimeter. Marine Air Controller Captain Stanford also called in Marine close air support and airdrop for desperately needed supplies, especially 40mm and 50 cal ammunition. Faith then sent out search parties to look for McLean, with no luck. McLean was declared missing, but later an American POW stated that McLean died of wounds on his 4th day of captivity and was buried by fellow POWs. He was the second and final American regimental commander to die in Korea. On the morning of the 29th, Drake's 31st Tank Company made another attempt to reach the perimeter, only to be driven back to Hudong by Chinese troops dug in on Hill 1221. For the remainder of the day, the newly designated Task Force Faith remained in position with nearly 500 wounded. The force was in no position to carry out the attack ordered by Ullman, yet Faith had no authority to order withdrawal. The situation was helped somewhat by Marine close air support and airdrop of supplies, although the drop lacked 40mm and 50 cal ammunition. A Marine helicopter also flew out some of the most seriously wounded. Task Force Faith's situation, however, remained desperate, particularly since it still had not established communications with the Marines or the 7th ID headquarters. Major General Dave Barr, commander of the 7th ID, flew in by helicopter. How are we doing? People still watching, or are they giving up on me? People are still here. That's good. Okay. You guys enjoying this? Jules, tell us what channel it is. Is it hers? Okay. The Marines would... okay. General Barr flew in by helicopter to bring Faith more bad news. All the units of 10th Corps, including Task Force Faith, now in operational command of the Marines, were to withdraw. The Marines would provide Faith with air support, but other than that, the men would be on their own. To make matters worse, the task force was burdened with wounded, which would make their withdrawal even more difficult. Furthermore, the 31st Command Post, the Tank Company, and the Headquarters Battery had evacuated, isolating their task force. So all the troops that were at the back of this were already gone. So he was even smaller now. At about 2 a.m., the Chinese launched another attack. At 8 p.m., 2000, they launched another attack. While killing large numbers, Chinese Task Force Faith suffered another 100 casualties. Faith soon concluded his force could not survive another major attack. He summoned his remaining officers and told them to prepare to move out at noon. The task force, after destroying its artillery, mortars, and other equipment, began to move south, carrying 600 wounded in 30 trucks. They were stacked up like cordwood in the back of these trucks. With a twin 40mm gun leading the way, the column began to move at 1 o'clock and immediately came under fire. Stanford called in Marine air support, but the lead plane's napalm canisters hit the front of the column, engulfing several soldiers and creating panic through the task force. So the Marines killed their own troops, and they burned alive. The situation quickly grew worse. Heavy fire from the flanks killed many of the wounded in the trucks. The Chinese started shooting at the wounded in the trucks. And I watched a survivor being interviewed who was in one of the trucks and then was taken prisoner of war, lost his fingers to the frostbite, had no fingers, and had no toes. It was horrible, and he survived. His face was messed up. He lost part of his nose. Okay. A roadblock then held up the task force while the Chinese on the hill kept up their heavy fire. There was only one way to break through, take Hill 1221. Several hundred men charged up the hill, including many of the wounded, some of whom said they preferred to die in attack than waiting in the trucks. Despite heavy casualties, men drove the Chinese off most of the hill. However, many simply kept going over the hill and down the other side, venturing out into the frozen reservoir and walking towards Hangaroo. The task force then ran into another block at a hairpin turn. Faith led an assault that cleared the enemy from it. However, he was struck by an enemy grenade fragments and mortally wounded. Once Faith lost his command structure, the task force, Faith collapsed. As 132's S1 Robert Jones described it, when Faith was hit, the task force ceased to exist. Faith would later be posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. While some, such as Jones and Stanford, tried to provide leadership, Task Force Faith quickly fell apart. Another roadblock, this one comprised of disabled tanks from the tank company and other vehicles, further delayed the column. At Twigay, the Chinese had blown another bridge, forcing the column to attempt a risky crossing of a railroad trestle. All the while, the vehicles were under fire. Many men left the trucks to hide or try to escape over the reservoir. Many died from wounds and exposure or were captured. Just north of Hudong, the task force ran into yet another roadblock. This spelled the end for Task Force Faith. The Chinese brought heavy fire to bear on the column. Chinese troops lobbed grenades and fired rifles into the trucks, killing masses of wounded. Those who could escape ventured down the reservoir and began the arduous march to the Marine lines in Hagaroo. During the night of 1 to 2 December, survivors straggled into the Marine lines. Many came through a sector held by the Marine 1st Motor Transport Battalion. Lieutenant Colonel Olin Bial, commander of the battalion, led a rescue mission across the ice by jeep, picking up over 300 survivors, many suffering from wounds, frostbite, and shock. In all, just over 1,000 survivors reached the Marine lines. And remember, there were 3,200. And of those, only 385 could be considered able-bodied. Of 3,200 soldiers, only 385 were able-bodied. The survivors, along with the other 7th ID soldiers, organized a provisional battalion attached to 7th Marines. Known as 31-7, the battalion participated in the 1st Marines breakout from Hagaroo to the coast beginning on 6 December. For years afterwards, the saga of the Task Force McLean Faith had been largely ignored. Many believed that the collapse and panic that engulfed the task force had brought great shame to the Army. Upon closer examination, the task force's role in the Chosin battle proved to be much more noteworthy. Many historians now agree that Task Force McLean blocked the Chinese drive along the eastern side of Chosin for 5 days and allowed the Marines along the west side to withdraw to Hagaroo. Furthermore, the task force destroyed the 80th Chinese Division. In recognition of their bravery, Task Force McLean Faith was awarded a Presidential Unit Citation in September of 1999. But they were maligned by a Navy chaplain on a ship that wasn't even in the battle and called them cowards, and that's why people didn't investigate this further. The heroism, the unbelievable actions of Colonel Faith in this, Lieutenant Colonel Faith, were just unbelievable. And he died in the most horrific conditions. Oh, that's Bianca. Yeah, that's who that is. Which video is it you guys are talking about? Is it the latest one? I mean, nobody's watching this crap. Tell me which video it was. Carlos, take a look at this channel when you get a chance. If you're still here. Yeah, no, the Task Force Faith is one of the most amazing battles the U.S. Army ever fought, and it was really, thanks, Carlos. Yeah, when you get a chance, don't do it now. Don't comment on there either. Just keep your name out of it. Just take a look when you get a chance. No, I appreciate you guys not looking at it because it's just garbage. No one go there. I'm just asking Carlos to do it. Carlos understands things, and I could use his advice. Yeah, no. There are documentaries on it too. Chosin Reservoir on Amazon. If you have Amazon, there's one about Chosin. The Marines are always talked about, the brave Marine Division, and they were. Their story is well told, but Task Force Faith wasn't told until the last 20 years, long after many of these men had died. It was horrific, absolutely horrific. And no one's ever talked about the Republic of Korea soldiers. I've never seen anything. Maybe the Koreans have done a special one, but I've never seen anything about the Koreans that were part of that task force. Okay, but I mean, yeah. 6 people dropped off. 6 people, what, from here? Well, a lot of people dropped off since I started talking about this. We were at 242. We're at 217 now. Liar and a grifter. Yep. Anyway. Anyway, so well, that one's still going. The one that I put out yesterday, that one's at 20. It was at 25 when I looked at it a little while ago, and now it's at 27.6. Yeah, 3,000. So the numbers are going up because people are waking up in South Africa. On a Saturday, that's good to get views. It's, 7:30 now in South Africa. Yeah, no, I mean, it's, people can't imagine. So these people that are talking about war and they want, these people know what they're talking about. I'm a soldier. I've been to war. You don't want it. The guys that serve in the bush, you don't want war. Things fall apart. Things don't work. The things break down, and you can be taken out any time from any angle, from above, from the side, from behind. It's not what you want. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you, Ingrid. Don't worry about it. Anyway, for those just tuning in late now, if you're just tuning in, my intent is to go to Rochester this week. I was surprised to hear from my grandfather's nephew that he served in the Pacific. He was in the British Navy. Didn't know Britain had ships in the Pacific. Oh, yeah. No, Britain had Singapore, major base, and they surrendered, a couple 100,000, 160,000 troops, I think. How many surrendered? How many British troops surrendered? Any... Singapore campaign, World War II. Oh, 85,000. I said 100 and some thousand. Yeah, it was 85,000. Yeah, up to 130,000. Yeah, that's estimates range up to 130,000. British, Indian, Australian personnel. They were subjected to brutal conditions and forced labor on the Burma-Thailand highway. It was the worst disaster in British military history, is what Churchill called it. Lieutenant General Percival capitulated to a smaller Japanese force, a much smaller Japanese force. No, Anton, there are no winners in war. No, except politicians. Yeah, no, the British had ships out there. Singapore was their major base. Yep. Oh, Singapore placed 3 times the service ships that were sunk. Well, good thing he survived that, man. 3 times the ships were sunk. That guy's a bad luck charm. Ghost Stomper, what's up? Yep, how's it going? Anyway. 80,000 British, Indian, Australian troops. Okay. Yeah, so there are 50,000 taken in Malaya. Many died of neglect, abuse, or forced labor. Yep. Yep, Singapore. What a disaster. Yes, if they're honest, I have nothing either. Should no problem with you asking some very relevant questions, even without an appointment or for a meeting. Yep. Yeah. No, exactly. So that's exactly right. They should have no reason not to talk to me. So, and if they do talk to me and there's just a misunderstanding, that's fine. I mean, I don't want there to be anything untoward. I'd be fine, but there's clearly something happening to these refugees. They're not getting the support they're supposed to get. Also, this saying they got $5,800, that's an odd situation. I'd like to know about that. Garrett says the bankers are winners. Yeah, as long as their country isn't annihilated. Oh, he worked at Scotland Yard. That's pretty cool. Wow, 2.5 hours. Reading that Choson Reservoir really got us busy there. What's this? Rohan, what are you talking about? Somebody, while she was doing that vid for real? What? What are you talking about, Rohan? Oh. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Well, no wonder she's hell-bent on that. Wow. I didn't know that. That's tragic. I'm sorry to hear that. Even that evil person doesn't deserve that. That's terrible. Yeah, Karen, time flies, we're having fun, but I still need to set up the streams on the Rugby Ascendant channel. So I got to log out of this and set up the streams for tomorrow morning. Got some work to do. Yep, and I was going to make another video, but I don't think I have time. War is not good. If you think about how many soldiers come back and don't ever talk about it. Yeah, well, Marissa, yeah. I mean, I don't generally talk about war experiences, but I mean, it wasn't horrific. It wasn't great. It's not fun being shot at. It's not fun when things are exploding around you. It's not. Yep. But you do what you're supposed to do, what you have to do. And that's how it goes. Hey, Lana, what's going on? How are you tonight? Anton, I don't know. I mean, these things take time to expose, So, but the bottom line is that I cannot tolerate what's going on, and I have the ability to make the trip up there. So I'm going to make the trip. Again, if I hadn't had my hip worked on a week ago, I wouldn't be able to make the trip because it would just been too painful for me to make the trip, 5 hours driving. And I don't know how it's going to go. We'll see. But if I have to, I'll stop and get out, walk around, and freeze my butt off in the cold for a little bit, then hit the road again. I already have a couple spots in mind to stop and get something. So, yep. No, Lana, there's no need to apologize. Come when you can come. You missed your day drinking. I'm so sorry to mess up your day drinking. So sorry about that. Don't keep a man or woman from their drink. Yeah. Well, there are funny stories. It's usually a funny story. So I've told some funny stories. Anyway. Yeah. So anything else I want to hit on from the news before we wrap up on this one? So hang on a second. Okay. Oh, yeah. So the Canadians have decided to work out a deal with the Chinese. Did you catch this? They worked out a deal. So Carney is dumber than his predecessor, Trudeau. Believe it or not. China breaks with U.S. to slash tariffs on some Chinese electric vehicles. Okay? So they're going to cut the tariffs. All right? So China announced, Carney announced that China will allow 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles into the Canadian market at a preferential trade rate of 6.1%. So let me put this in perspective. In 2024, Canada imposed a 100% tariff on Chinese electrical vehicles. Now, in exchange for this 6.1 exchange trade tariff, which is lower than most countries on anything, they're going to let 6.1%, 49,000 electric vehicles come in. Okay? If the average electric vehicle is, let me see. So let's say it's 50,000 because there's more, there's cheap. So there's more, some that cost more, some that cost less. 50,000 times 49,000 equals $2.45 billion. Okay? 2.45 billion. So those 49,000 cars would have had another 2.45 billion just in tariffs. So they would have made $2.5 billion in tariffs. Plus it would have discouraged people from buying them. But now they're going to get times 0.061. They're going to get $150 million in tariffs from that. They sold their soul down the river for $150 million in tariffs. What they got in exchange for giving them, now they went from 100% to 6% to let these 49,000 Chinese cars into Canada. The Chinese lowered a 85% tariff to 15%, wait for it, for canola oil. Let's see what a bottle of canola oil costs. $3 maybe? Big bottle canola, let's go with that. $9. Great value Canada oil, $9 at Walmart. Great value canola oil, excuse me. Great value canola oil for $9. Here it's $7 from Mazola. $7 from Mazola. So $7 for a big bottle, okay? That's like a gallon. So $7. How many bottles would they have to sell to get 2.45 billion? Okay, so let's do that. So 245 billion divided by 719. They would have to sell 340 million 340 million bottles, 751,043. 340,751,043 bottles just to get the same amount of revenue that the Chinese will get from their 49,000 EVs. Do you think the Chinese are going to buy 349 million bottles of Canadian canola oil? And even if they do, Canadians still have a 15% tariff while the Chinese are getting 6% tariff. This guy's a moron. What a moron. Just to make sure what South African time will live stream start for FT program Sunday. It usually, Debbie, usually starts at 9 p.m. I've been having interviews. I have a refugee who's lined up, but I have to go check. I can't remember who it was now. I'm confused. I'm supposed to have a refugee that's going to come on Sunday at 8 o'clock because I do my news, and then we do the refugee, then we do the cafe clutch. So it's usually 9 o'clock. Sorry, it's just a bit late, but that's because the time changed. It'll be 8 o'clock when we go back to daylight savings time because I do it 2 o'clock on a Sunday. Chinese food and restaurants get cooking oil from sewers. Never heard that before. Temu cars, yeah. Thanks for the news. A nice chat. Have some sleep. Okay, take care, Loretta. You're right. You're welcome, Debbie. And I've got the business, but the business interview is in the morning. It's at 8 o'clock in the morning Sunday. So I do that. Then I do my news at 11. So I get a 2-hour break in between, but I've got to work on veteran stuff, so there's no break. Then I do, after the news, for an hour and a half till 12:30. Then 1 o'clock we do the refugee interview, and then 2 o'clock we do the cafe clutch. I don't get weekends. That's why Saturday nights I don't typically do a night owls, because it's the one night I'm supposed to not do it. Thanks for the live. When you get to turn in, sleep tight. Yep, I will. Yeah, the Chinese cars I don't even recognize. I drive around South Africa. I'm like, what the hell is that? What the hell? BYD? What is that? Or GWM, Great Wall Motors. Yeah, Garrett, the Korean War Memorial is impressive. I think it's the most impressive memorial we have to conflicts on the mall. It's very amazing. Yep, something else. All right. So yeah, the Chinese are getting a great deal, and the Canadians are screwed. All right, well, we need to wrap it up here, guys. 2.5 hours. Appreciate everybody being here. Be sure to hit the like button. And if you haven't watched my video from earlier, go do that. Here's the link to it. This is one you want to watch if you haven't done already. That is my video about this allegation by the Justice Department. Now, tonight, it's a weekend, so I don't expect them to respond, but I offered them a chance to come on the program to talk about the allegations since they're refuting it. All right, guys, take care. Rugby is sending in the morning. Please join us there, okay? Well, be afternoon for South Africans. You need to get some shut-eye after. Well, I'll probably get shut-eye and fall asleep and drive off the road to Rochester. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Ciao, ciao. Night. See you later. Take care. Don't let the bed bugs bite.